Now entering Nerdist.com.
You made it weird, you made it weird, you made it weird, oh yeah. You made it weird, you made it weird, yes you did. You made it weird, oh yeah.
You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes.
What is up, weirdos? It is an exciting episode for me because it's a doctor, not real doctor. Oh, spoiler! I found out he's not a real doctor. He's not! But Jonathan Katz from Dr. Katz, one of my favorite shows growing up. It's also just fun to say Katz, which is super exciting. So glad he could make it. Oh, shit. What the fuck just happened? Also, Tom Snyder is the other guest, his co-writer and wonderful super scientist, amazing mind, hilarious man, was just such an awesome bonus to this episode. Such an unexpected treasure or pleasure. Either way. T or P, guys. T or P. They're also here to plug their show, which is Explosion Bus, which is a lot like Dr. Katz, which is awesome. It's online. You can find it by going to explosionbus.com or YouTube Explosion Bus, search Explosion Bus. Basically anything with Explosion Bus online, you'll find the show Explosion Bus, which is great. It's a new animated show. It's by Dr. Katz, Jonathan Katz, call him Dr. Katz, and Tom Snyder, and it's super great. It's super great. From the episodes I've seen, it's weird, it's wild, it's hilarious, it's semi-improvised, it's conversational, a lot like the show Dr. Katz, Professional Therapist, and they've done it all themselves. We talk about it in this episode. They did the writing, the recording, the animating, the producing, all from their home, which is really cool, and it's basically about these two kind of pathetic weirdos that run a talent show on their bus, and the sexy, sexy broads that love them so, which is going to be great. So check it out, Explosion Bus, explosionbus.com. I don't normally do the plug up top, but why not? Why not just do it up top because it was natural? That's why they came on the show. But I'm happy to say that it started, kind of like we did a lot of bits, and I was like, what kind of episode is this going to be? And it ended up being like a really interesting, very profound episode, at least for me, and I hope you enjoyed as well. As always, you can email the show, weird@nerdist.com. That's the email address for the show. People have also been mailing stuff to Meltdown Comics in Hollywood, which has been very, very nice. I've been appreciating the comic books and some gifts from wonderful weirdos. Somebody sent in a Not Feeling It framed picture, which is unbelievable, and now hanging in my home, so that's awesome. You can also go to facebook.com/YouMadeItWeird to post and comment about the show. Here's the tour dates if you want to come out to a live You Made It Weird or to some live stand-up of mine. I'm going to be in, we already did those, Boston is the next one. That's this November 24th. I will be in this one, not the next one. I'll be in Boston, Massachusetts at the Paradise Rock Club, November 24th. Home for the holidays, going to do one show. Please come out. It's going to be great. Gary Gulman, who was on the show, is going to be opening up, which is amazing, and some other local guys, which are going to be great. San Francisco, I'm going to be with Kyle Kinane. We're also doing a live You Made It Weird. That's going to be November 29th through December 2nd at Cobb's. December 2nd is the live You Made It Weird. Wonderful guests flying in from LA, and Kyle will be on the show, and some San Fran locals. It's going to be awesome. Portland, I'm going to be at the Helium Comedy Club with Chris Thayer, December 5 through 8. Philly, I'm going to be at Helium Comedy Club with Chris Thayer, December 12th through 15th, and then going back to New York, for the Gramercy Theater, one night only, December 21st, the night the world ends, according to the Mayans. Come see me do stand-up at the Gramercy Theater. Love having weirdos out there. It's been great having you guys there. The shows have been awesome. Thank you for your support, and dare I say your love. It's been amazing, and it's mutual. Thank you. Oh, got kind of sentimental here at the end. Please enjoy this episode, guys. I sure did. If you like it half as much as me, you're about to shit your pants. I didn't know if you were a neatness freak. You said geek, not freak. Geek. It's hard to say.
But if I knew Katie better.
This Katie?
Yeah. Or knew what her...
Katie Levine.
Levine? As in Jewish?
She's chosen.
Oh.
I have to imagine Dr. Jonathan Katz is also chosen.
Oh, we've got my cancer.
What would you love?
Is that the girl that...
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to her on the phone.
You'd love her.
Yeah.
Katie, do I know you well enough to... No, man, this is...
I don't know where this is going, but I love it so much.
Let me rephrase. Who do you have to blow in this town to get a cup of coffee?
You did just change it pretty drastically. I thought it was Katie, do I know you well enough to tell you that you're lovely or I enjoy your overall vibe?
I'd love a cup of coffee.
We're drinking Coke Zero. We just got in trouble with Coke because I shit on aspartame.
Oh,
Don't shit on aspartame.
is that the active ingredient in Sweet and Low?
Would you like?
It is.
Yeah.
Are you a sweet and lowman?
Can I give you a
No,
little
but that's a
money
great
for
expression.
a Diet Coke?
Oh, I can. I'll get you one. Don't worry about it.
Hey, Tom, you put that away when you're in Los Angeles.
Do you want like cream, sugar, or anything?
A little bit of milk and some Splenda.
If you're going to the hippie place, we'll see you in 45 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna go to 7-Eleven.
Yeah,
That's
Be
fine.
much
That's
quicker.
fine.
So just
No,
a diet.
it's fine. Don't worry.
Okay,
Katie,
a
thank
Diet
you so
Coke
much.
for me, thanks.
And you're welcome to borrow my scooter.
All right.
If you want a zip, is it what kind of scooter is it?
Recording.
It's a
What's the brand? Let's plug something positive. I shit on Coke. If you wanna plug a scooter brand, right up top.
Pride Mobility. But I also have an Afikim scooter, which came from Israel, which goes from 0 to 7 in 20 minutes.
But that's not 7 miles an hour.
Well, don't shit on that. Do you want some gift certificates?
Oh,
Do you drink
sure.
Coca-Cola products?
God,
Do you drink it? See, I don't even know your name.
Tom Snyder.
Tom Snyder.
Tom?
Yes.
Nice to meet you, Tom. And what's the last name?
Snyder.
Snyder, also chosen. Good
Yeah.
friends with a Josh Snyder growing up.
No,
Oh,
Tom
really?
is actually
Yeah.
Tom is not a member of the tribe, but
What is
No.
that? You're not Jewish?
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
My friend Josh Snyder is Jewish.
SNY?
SNI.
See, we were
Oh.
Jewish, and we did. We changed our name from Schneider at Ellis Island.
Wait, from Schneider, which is like, that sounds like Germany.
Yeah.
Schneider.
Yeah.
Schneider.
Schneider, which means tailor.
Well, okay, so you do use Sweet and Low?
I use.
I'm going to keep this to just the important questions.
I use Splenda
Yeah, because it tastes like sugar because it's made from sugar.
because I want a yellow tumor.
That's what you're
You
choosing.
can pick them out by color now.
Pink is so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything in there's already
Well,
pink.
pink is flesh colored. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Inner flesh.
So
Right.
racist.
That was a little racist. That was old school crayons.
Yeah.
See, okay, so you gentlemen are both.
Pete, where did you grow up?
Yeah, let's get into me, please. I'd really like to keep this about me.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lexington, Massachusetts.
No.
02173.
Cambridge.
Cambridge.
02138.
Okay. Dr. Katz?
02459?
Is that... See, I'm
Well,
going to make a Newton joke. Is it Newton?
It is Newton, but I actually grew up. I actually grew up in New York.
My I don't know if it's anti-Semitism, but my stereotyping worked out.
I grew up in the tough part.
Of Newton?
Yeah.
The ton part. The new part, everybody can handle the new part. The ton,
Yeah.
the ton is
I
rough.
was saying the tough part.
Yeah, no, I'm making a terrible
Oh,
joke.
I'm sorry.
No, you didn't miss anything. Nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
You're right on the ball.
But
You did grow up in Newton?
I actually grew up in New York City. Then we moved to Newton when my daughter became of age, 2.5.
You had a daughter. Okay, so
Yeah,
you were going to have to back up. Where did you grow up in New York
I
City?
grew up I lived in Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, and Nassau County.
Okay. You just skipped the Bronx and
Yeah.
Staten Island.
Right. But I'll tell you how Staten Island got its name. Do you know that story?
No, is this real?
Yeah, it's
Is
true
this a
story.
comedy bit? I swear.
No, I swear to God, this is not. This is just history.
Tell me history.
Columbus and his men were sailing.
This sounds fake.
No,
You're spinning a
What?
yarn.
no. What's another nautical term? Not the captain of the boat, but the who is
The lookout, maybe?
Yeah, maybe the lookout spotted an island. And it said Staten Island.
And he said, "Is oh my Jesus Christ?
Is it worth
Is
it?
Staten Island? Is Staten Island? That joke is so up my alley. It's mugging people. That's how up my alley that joke is. You have no idea. We don't know that. We don't know each other that well.
Hey, Pete, you know what I've been doing in Los Angeles, which hasn't worked yet? I've been going up to strangers and saying, "Have you seen anybody fitting my description?" And nobody is even slightly amused.
The two women you
They like
right? No, they
Wait.
didn't.
Oh, just now?
Just now we had lunch. Up
This isn't just a straight up comedy bit. That's something you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's attempting to do a comedy bit. So he walked up to these two women.
But it's a life bit. He's
It's a
doing
life bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after he left,
I like that you
Right.
own that
yeah.
so quickly.
And I went up to them. I didn't apologize, but I said, it's a bit he's working on. And they actually said, tell him it's not working.
Oh my God.
Oh, nice.
That is good.
Nice.
In this town,
Yeah.
everyone's a critic. Everyone's a critic. Well, okay. So
On the other hand, I said as we left the hotel, I told the front desk, I'm hoping somebody can make up my room while I'm gone. And she said, I really want to make this work.
okay. I need
sorry.
help with that
I'm sorry.
one.
That's just
Can you
that's
make
an LA
up this
thing.
room?
I said, can you make up my room while I'm out? And she said, I really want to make this work.
Is that what people say in this town?
Like
That's
a
what
relationship?
No, that's what agents say. When agents introduce you to people in television,
Yes.
and you pitch something to them that somebody will say, I really want to make this work.
Yeah.
But, oh no, Pete, let's go back to Lexington.
No, let's stay in. I want to make this work. I've been not getting a lot of jokes lately. I don't know what's wrong with my brain.
No, comedians don't get jokes that well.
So let me tell you what it was. Kumail, my friend, whose picture is right there, he's the brown one. I make that joke every time.
Mm-hmm.
He
What's his last name?
Nanjiani. Sounds Italian. Nanjiani.
Right.
You probably know. Well, he's friends with Eugene, which is how we met at the Paradise. We're all pretty good friends.
Right.
And Kumail had a tweet that was, you can really tell by the line for Twilight who will never become the president or whatever, something like that. Now, okay, see, by your confused faces, I can see you don't really understand that
because of werewolves and...
Yeah, I think he just means like, if you break it down, it'll sound like cruelty.
Right.
Like knuckleheads. Knuckleheads are
Right.
line. See,
Right.
but when I saw line for Twilight, I'm thinking there's a line in Twilight. Like the word,
Right.
what is it? Homonym. It means two things or whatever. I see the word line and I'm thinking line in a movie. Like it's been happening a lot lately. My head's up my own ass lately.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Right.
So I didn't get your joke. So just know that you're in good company.
Yeah. I mean, things... I was telling Tom, things for me are going so well. I have a guy coming in once a week just to count my blessings. Make me stop.
I never want to make you stop.
You're working too hard, Johnny.
I'm so familiar with your voice from Dr. Katz, professional therapist.
And Tom is the brains behind that show. He co-created
right?
the show, and he...
Nobody tells me anything.
I mean, I agreed so quickly that I'm the brains behind it, but I am. Yeah.
Yeah. And there you were.
Yeah.
What a wonderful show.
Thank you.
It was on for 7 years. Mm-hmm. That's a long time to be on a show.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
Katie, that was such a loud entrance for a woman your age. Thank you so much.
Look, Splenda's. She brought you yellow tumors.
You know what you missed, Katie, while you were gone? Tom Snyder, who's not Jewish, sang your maftir. And you're not Jewish either, are you?
No, I'm not.
Well, that's part of a bat
Could you do
mitzvah.
that same laugh again and tell me it doesn't sound like Laura Silverman?
Oh, let me hear.
She can't just do it.
I don't know. I guess.
We could play it back. It sounds like Laura Silverman. Are you saying all Jews laugh the same?
Damn, this is tricky water.
I've been to a bar mitzvah. We've talked about this on the show a lot. I can out-Jew a lot of Jews because I've been to Israel. Have you been? Have you been to your? I was going to say your homeland. have you been to the series Homeland?
No, but I missed it last night.
Oh, do people really watch that show? I
Yeah.
forget that people watch television.
Do you watch Homeland?
No.
I don't say that's snotty. I've heard it's a great show.
It is.
It's about the police.
Well, it's about terrorism and
Spycraft.
Spycraft?
Yes.
And Claire Danes is wonderful.
I love a good Claire Danes. Claire Danes. I'm just going to riff bits from myself.
I'll tell you.
Pronounce Mandy's last name, would you? Because I don't know how.
Mandy. Patimkin.
Potemkin?
Yeah.
What was Jon Stewart's name before he changed it? Before he goyed it up?
No.
I believe it was Lipschitz. I think
really?
it was one, which is the funniest
that's a
Jewish
bad
name.
Yeah. The worst Jewish word, and maybe, kid, you've heard this, because it's if I were to introduce you to, and you're single, right?
I am a single man.
To the
Speaking of Jews, I'm a single man.
and
Isn't that what that movie's
I'm
called?
going to assume you're single and straight.
I am both those things.
If I introduce you to the woman of your dreams,
Yeah.
some Jewish person might say that's a shidduch.
A shirach.
A shidduch.
It sounds like
you
an
know,
expensive
have you heard that
cognac.
expression? No. Oh, it's kind of like a mitzvah on steroids.
I recently said shirak. It sounds like no.
With a D.
Get out of here, Goy.
Okay.
If somebody's going to tell me, it's going to be one of the two Jews in the room. I've been to a Purim celebration. I told the story.
Of Esther?
Of Esther, that's right. And you were telling me if you've been to Israel.
I've been to Israel twice and may go again because my niece is about to have a baby.
Okay. Are they there?
They live in I have family in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem.
I stayed in Jerusalem for 5 months.
Did you really?
Yes. How weird is that?
What was the occasion?
Well, it was a mitzvah.
Right.
Kicking it with Jews. Kicking it with Jews. I'm so sorry for singing "Kicking It with Jews" just then. I went to study because I'm real churchy. I was real churchy,
Right.
And you know that's 70% of the Christian faith is the Jewish faith.
Oh, that's right.
And then
Forget
so
about
I
that.
went to study that sort of stuff,
Right.
and to kick it where Jesus, the ultimate, the King Jew, the King Jew lived. Is that bad to call Jesus the King? Can you Google if it's offensive to call? He is the King of Kings, and he was Jewish.
He also was a member of the Carpenters Union. Oh, now that's the laugh you're talking about.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Do it again. Okay, see? I'm not true.
When were you? We'll make her laugh again. People love the episodes where Katie's laughing, and this is already in the top 3. I'm not saying you're a hard laugher, but it is coveted. It is coveted. It's a golem. I'm just kidding. I'm trying too hard. I'm trying too hard.
A made-up name.
I tried to say golem. It's not correct. I recently said mitzvah to somebody, and they didn't know what it meant, and it really hurt my feelings.
An old Jewish man, and my dad would say, "Why does he have to be Jewish?" Goes to a doctor, and the doctor says, "There's nothing wrong with you. You just need to have more sex. You need to have sex 8, 10 times a week." Goes home, tells his wife. She says, "Put me down for 2." That's a joke I enjoy telling.
This should be a TV show. There's not the only thing funnier than you telling the joke is then breaking eye contact, slowly sipping your coffee and going, "That's a joke I enjoy telling." That is a page out of my own book.
I think I did that joke at B.J. Novick's bar mitzvah. Another Newton boy.
I know, another Newton boy. I opened for BJ back in the day at the College of William and Mary.
And the thing that both Tom and I have fallen in love with many times is the thing on your site. I've tried to explain to people what you're doing, but aren't you teaching people how to stop talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
That's so funny. That is it's a video where Arnold Schwarzenegger has cured his accent with a product called Axagon.
Oh, right.
But then it keeps creeping back in.
Right. It's so good.
No, thank you. I had no idea. You're aware of me as a person?
A little bit.
Do you know anybody that matches my description? Can you help me?
Yeah. Have I seen anyone fitting your description?
Yes.
Not
Yes.
lately. No.
So you've watched the video and you enjoyed it, and that's very flattering because, as I said, I loved your show. I loved it so much growing up. Big part of why I became a comedian, I think.
And Pete, I got to tell you up front, I'm not a hero. That's my new hook. I'm no hero.
That is so good. That is so good.
I can go anywhere. You know?
Yeah. And also, I don't know if we know each other well enough for me to tell you this is the most interesting way to start anything.
Yeah.
Anything. The way to ask for coffee. That's just a colorful way to ask for coffee, and I enjoy it and celebrate it. So you were in Old City, Drew?
Yeah.
Where were you?
My sister-in-law lives there.
In Old City?
Yeah.
Oh, I call it Old City. We don't say the back then.
You know, in Chicago, there's a place called Old Town.
I lived very close to Old Town.
And
I was in Chicago.
I lived in Chicago for a year, and I was half of a team called Sabasawa and Katz, a musical duo. I was Katz. And,
I'm No Hero was our hit.
but we never got paid. We got lunch once.
That's a working musician. That's a Simpsons joke.
And also, I flew to Chicago at the suggestion, and I'm not dropping names here. David Mamet said, "I just come out here. There's a part for you in this production."
Yes.
So I flew out to Chicago. I went to the Niles Children's Theater,
Okay.
and I think I was up for the role of the caterpillar. Is it Alice in Wonderland?
Yes.
The guy hated me. I didn't get the job.
Were you in costume?
No.
Did Mamet write this play?
No, he was just a member of the Children's Theater, the Niles. He was an actor.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know that. I couldn't be more happy that you brought up Mamet because I'm a huge Mamet fan.
I didn't bring him up.
You sure did.
I just dropped his name.
Yeah, it's right there on the floor with your dignity.
Yeah. I drop area codes now.
We did earlier.
Oh, did you?
We did 02173. That's how we all
Oh,
started.
that's right. Zip codes, yeah.
Oh, that's a zip code.
Yeah.
And I'm an idiot. Ding.
I'm not saying that I'm all over 212.
What is your zip? What is your area?
Now it's 617, but I
Keeping it old school. I love it.
I used to see somebody in 212 and 516.
I'm a 917 now. That's where you're from. 917 is currently Manhattan.
Oh, that's right.
Back in the day, 212 is also Manhattan.
And also,
646.
646.
646. There's so many. There's just so many. So you visit your sister, is that right? Who lives in the old city of Jerusalem?
No, my sister lives in Puerto Rico. My wife's sister lives in Jerusalem.
Your wife's sister lives in Jerusalem.
Right.
And which
and my
part?
niece lives in Tel Aviv.
Okay. I didn't spend much time in Tel Aviv, although there was a bomb scare at the airport, so I got the full experience.
Right.
I wasn't afraid. I was so young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you remember being really, really young and not afraid of death at all?
No.
Does that resonate with you?
I was terrified my entire youth.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Tom and I grew up
During
watching
the bombs, the Russians.
bomb shelters, and also watching was it nine warning signs for cancer
9 warning signs for cancer?
Wasn't it 12?
or 12?
Well, since adding Splenda to your coffee there's 13 now.
It was incredible. Back in the 50s, there were signs on banks, the 12 warning signs of cancer, and they were things like feeling drowsy.
Shut up.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, and it was terrifying just to get out of bed.
So I'm 33. You guys are 33. What year is it? Well, you guys are 23.
Well, we're 33 in the explosion bus.
Yeah, John plays 33 really well on our show, on our new show.
I'm able to draw on my experience as a 33-year-old man, even though I'm not classically trained.
But you're growing up in which decade? Just help me with the math. I don't want to guess.
Well, he's a little older than me. When did you grow up,
I'm
John?
65. I was born in 1946. You don't look a day over 64. Okay, that's so sweet.
See, so I watch a lot of Mad Men. That's how I told my mother when I watched Mad Men. I actually told this to here. Let me put a name on the floor right next to Mamet. I told John Hamm that the show Mad Men really brought me and my mother together because it brought things up like the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis and Marilyn Monroe's death and all that sort of stuff. That I have no conception of that. So you even telling me that there were signs that are like, hey, if you're drowsy, maybe you have cancer. That's a different picture than what I have of that time.
Were you sort of narratively hooked up when did she tell you stories about being a kid when you were growing up?
No.
Yeah.
How badly would you like to see a movie about your parents' childhood?
I know.
Fucking the best thing in the world. That's why I'm doing this podcast. My kids can listen to this in 10 years or whatever and be like, you were a scumbag.
I would have given anything for one story about the past.
Yeah.
Anything.
What is that?
I
So
don't
you're
know.
the same way. My parents, Lithuanian.
Yeah.
Hungarian, Dr. Katz?
Hungarian and Russian.
And Tom?
Christian.
Just Christian, regular?
Yeah,
Quaker.
British, Quaker.
I went to CFS. Do you know that school?
Yes.
So you're from Cambridge.
Yes.
And I went to Quaker school.
Yeah, so did I. And then I went to Swarthmore, and my wife went to Quaker school.
Really?
Yeah, we were
Are
married.
you still a friend?
Yeah.
A friend of the friends?
You know, some of my best Jews are friends.
Are there Jewish friends?
That's what your dad said to me, and I didn't realize it was a joke.
No, he would never say that.
Can you be a Jewish Quaker?
No.
Oh, God, I don't know why I found that so funny. Just a point blank no.
Yeah, that's just dry. But
You're the most open, accepting, loving, let's just sit in silence people. And a Jew comes along. Well, you're saying if he doesn't accept Christ, is it like Christian Quaker?
No, it's just you don't even have to believe in God to be a Quaker.
So you can be a Jewish
You have to
very
believe in
Jewish.
community.
Believe in community and silence, because the Quaker meaning nothing is said.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I actually think that might be right on. Very
CFS.
minimalist.
I can't believe that.
CFS. Mary Johnson. Did you know Mary?
She was the director?
Yeah, she was the principal at the time.
Oh. Huh.
It's interesting.
I taught at Shady Hill for 10 years.
Is that a Quaker school?
No, but it's nearby.
We had to sit in silence, or we had to. It started, we had to. Now that I'm older, all the things like school in general seems like a good idea. Like when you like to go and learn and stuff. And I know you've taught at Brandeis and stuff. It's fun to teach and give. And you're like, you can steal this knowledge from me and seem intelligent. And now that's intoxicating. But when I was younger, I was like boring. And sitting in silence for 20 minutes every day sucked. I hated it.
Yeah.
I used
Did you have friends in high school?
Did I?
Yeah.
Who has friends ever? I had like 3 friends in high school.
Did you, Tom?
No.
Did you?
I had one friend, Alfonso Grimes.
Oh, I know Alfonso.
Yeah. He was tight.
That's a bit I do. That's a bit I do. Whenever someone says a name, I just say I know them. You just kept going, and it delighted me. You had one friend in high school?
Yeah. And it's only because we were waiting for the bus together. I don't think he actually liked me.
Help me out. Really? Okay, you're in high school. Where did you go to high school? In Manhattan?
I went to high school at a place called Bayside High in Queens. But
you went to Bayside High?
Yep, but it was...
that's the school from...
Oh, from Saved by the Bell?
From Saved by the Bell.
Oh, yeah. But it was during those years that I learned how to play table tennis. And that's...
I've heard this.
That I became... Uh-oh. She's asleep. I'm sorry. No, I became the New York...
You are a teacher. You noticed that Katie was texting.
I think my dad went to high school. That's why.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I perk up because of a fictional Bayside, and you're like, I know something real.
Yeah, I became the New York State table tennis champion and one of the top-ranked players in the country. But more importantly...
You're not a hero.
Have you seen anybody fitting my description?
When did you start getting into ping pong? Because that is very interesting.
Around 11 or 12. And Tom and I were just talking about this morning. There's something that's happening biologically that permits you to become very good at anything at that age.
Tell me what does that mean?
Around 11, 13. I heard this on NPR, so it's like...
Oh, wait, I heard this on NPR.
School, the middle
yes.
school?
It's when all your brain is alive.
It's growing so fast, and most of those cells aren't going to live.
I
But
love
the
that
ones
you're
that
saying
you're
this.
using...
Yes. So
live.
What the fuck, man? Why didn't... I sounded like Marin just then, but why didn't anyone tell us that?
I know.
If you, did ping pong when you were 11... Card tricks, this was part of the show, too. Card tricks I knew how to do when I was 11. I can still do.
Right.
Because that's when your brain is like, well, this is the important stuff, and it killed physics. Physics is gone.
Right.
See,
a whole wing of French
every
eliminated.
guy I've told this fact to in the last 3 days has said, then jerking off, is
why I'm so good at it.
Is why I'm so good at it.
But I mean, when I tell parents that, how old is your daughter now?
I have two beautiful kids, couple of kids. I'm sorry, I'm doing my act. No, I have a 21-year-old and a 30-year-old.
Okay. Do you wish you knew this? Do you wish you knew when they were 11 that it was the stuff they were doing then that would be imprinted on them forever?
No, because I was videotaping them. So I can always refer back to it. I mean, both of my kids, their entire lives are on tape.
Is that true?
Yep. And a lot of my life is on audio tape.
Yeah.
I started recording myself at age 7 or something, and Tom as well.
Wallensack? Is that the...
Wallensack tape recorder.
Well, that kind of goes back to wanting to hear our parents when they were kids. I wonder if our compulsion to record ourselves comes from their lack of compulsion.
That was my journey from my home in Newton to Ira Glass's show. Was going by way of Jay Allison, who's an NPR guy. And I went to Woods Hole with about 70 reel-to-reel tapes looking for the voice of my mother. Found it, not that good.
This sounds like a Mitch album book. Mitch, who wrote Tuesdays with Maury? Album? Can we go back and make that joke funny? What I'm saying is looking for my mother's voice. That is a New Yorker essay.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
Did it work?
Really, I did find it ultimately, but more importantly, what I found was that my sister Phyllis and I have totally different versions of our childhood.
That's interesting.
And I'm right.
Can you? That's real?
Yeah.
Because my brother and I've wiped out huge portions of my memory of my childhood. So tell me what that means.
Tell me how you wiped it out. Was using drugs?
Yeah. No. Oh. Using self-made. I don't know.
Right.
Without my now as I get older, my brother is more and more precious to me because he really remembers what my childhood was like. Whereas I was like, this isn't useful to hold on to, and I moved on. It wasn't that it was that bad, but
he was a witness to your childhood.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He was like my assistant.
Right.
We're gonna make this work. See, I'm calling back jokes I didn't get.
Right.
I'm a pro.
Use them in a sentence.
So tell me, what does that mean? Your sister Phyllis, I know Phyllis, and you had different. Thank you very much, Tom. They had different interpretations. What does that mean?
She's 2.5 years older than me.
My brother's 2 years older than me. I wonder.
My arrival was not a joyous event for her.
Not a mitzvah.
No. And but I wanted to backtrack a little bit to this. Remember this old Jewish guy I was telling you about?
Yes.
Earlier?
Why does it have to be Jewish?
Yeah.
I'm being your father.
Okay. Well, this time he's on an island and he's granted 3 wishes by a genie. Why is it always 3?
Why is it always? 3 Jews.
Yeah.
Three wise men.
So the guy says,
3 mice.
can't grant 3 wishes. I haven't told the joke in a while, so bear with me.
I love it.
Hey, you guys talk among yourselves while I'm trying to remember.
No,
the
I'd
joke.
rather
gonna
watch
try-
you.
Okay, so
Is it the one about like?
oh no, so the first thing
I know a
he-
good one wish one.
Oh, the first thing he wishes for is peace in the Mideast.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is
He gets it.
yeah. Second thing is just for all people to find happiness.
Yes.
And then the third thing is, third wish is for his wife for once to perform oral sex. And the genie says, now when you say peace,
Oh my God, that's great. I heard a rumor. Have you heard this rumor? Maybe it's a modern Jew rumor, a Joomer. Maybe it's a modern Joomer that Jewish women love giving oral sex. Because I've heard a lot of jokes like that where it's like a Jewish man right before the ceremony gets blown by his wife and then he comes out and he's so happy and they're like, what are you smiling about? He's like, I just got the last blowjob of my life, right? I've heard those jokes, but then I've also heard and had it affirmed by the internet, which is never wrong, that Jewish women now, the stereotype is that they love it.
Wendy? I mean, oh no, who's Wendy?
I don't know, but I want to call Katie Wendy. So I call her Catherine too, which is not her name, and she hates it.
Katie, can you confirm or deny that?
She's the best blowjobs.
I thought it was that they loved
No,
it
the
too.
best one.
No, every woman thinks they're the best
No,
at them.
we're the best.
I've never met a woman that wasn't like, I'm about to show you what it's all about. And I'm like, okay, it's pretty much the same 3 things.
And there's no such thing I've discovered as a perfect blowjob.
Yeah.
Because I've I mean the closest I've come was a woman who was actually getting her tonsils removed at the time.
And could take her teeth out.
Yeah, and kids, please don't listen to this.
No, they don't. No children listen to this. Except Gil. And it's really shaping him as a
And
man.
certainly none of my children.
Yeah. Well, your children are of age.
Yeah.
21 and 30.
That's true.
That's got to be kind of tricky. 21.
Well, my family, and Tom, forgive me again, you're hearing this again, we're all members of the 9 table. We're all 9 years apart.
Oh, really?
My wife and I are 9 years apart. My daughters are 9 years apart. So every 9 years we get to be the 9 table.
It's really interesting. And
yet math. I mean, it is a great table.
There's another 9, isn't there? I've heard this so many times now. There's another 9 linkage.
Oh, that everybody's... Are you thinking about Kevin Bacon?
Yes, that's it. No. Something about your family.
Well, what
Is
do
that
we
a
hear?
linkage sausage bacon joke? What is how many jokes are happening right now? I need to know.
I'm just hanging on for dear life here.
Perfect comedy storm.
Perfect. But you haven't heard the stereotype that Jewish girls... Well, Katie, I feel like the last time I brought this up, you said that you have heard the stereotype that they like to do it. No?
It was on Sean Patton's episode.
Wow.
Yeah, no, because
Nice.
I remember because he texted me.
Good pull.
And he said he texted me one day. And
I hope he didn't text you and say, like, is that true?
That Jewish girls give the best blowjobs, and I wrote, yeah. And then he tweeted that, and that's what he was talking about.
Oh.
But no, it's that we give the best.
In between the text and the tweet, did you think he was hitting on you?
No.
Well, anyway, so that's it. You want to hear my one? I bet you'll like the one wish joke. Guy finds a lamp. Maybe this is the Goy version.
Wait, what did he find, a lamp?
He found a lamp.
Oh, I left that part out.
Yeah.
Can I borrow your lamp for editing?
We'll put my setup in on your joke.
Okay.
But everybody knows what a genie is.
Yeah.
So I'm making it longer because I love talking. So he finds a lamp and the genie comes out and he goes, I'm a different kind of genie. You only get one wish. And the guy goes, well, I want a highway that runs from New York City, and my parents live in England, and I want to be able to drive on that, and I want to be good. And then I also have friends that live in Antarctica, and I want the highway to also go to Antarctica. I can get anywhere in the world in 5 minutes. And he's like, that's too difficult. It's like, what are you talking about? I can't do that. He goes, okay, I want to know everything there is to know about women. And then the genie goes, do you want that road going east to west or north to east? Like it's the same, very similar. Yeah. I love those same my favorite joke setup is the 3 guys that are captured by the headhunters, by the primitive tribe.
And they're in a pot?
There's usually a pot nearby.
And is somebody getting fucked up the ass?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. But
So on the explosion bus,
yes.
unlike Dr. Katz,
What is Explosion Bus? Tell us.
Explosion Bus is a new series we're doing on the web, Tom and I. And my voice just got so intimate.
I know. Me too.
You really NPR'd that mic just then.
When we come back, I'll be talking with
You're going to have to sip the coffee right into the mic.
Pete Holmes and Tom Snyder.
But John and I are getting back to what we used to
Kate
do with the
Levine.
Dr. Katz days, and it's really fun. Because,
What does that mean?
well, we recorded all of Dr. Katz in my home.
Yes.
And we're recording in my home, and now John's home, too. He's got a great studio in his basement. So we bring 8 actors in, put them in ISO booths.
Yes.
And we have a show that's on the web that's a story about 2 pathetic guys in a bus going around the country. And John's one of them.
We're trying to put I'm popping my piece. We're trying to put the fictitious version of America's Got Talent out of business. And we don't have any skills or any work ethic.
Yes.
We just have a bus and a dream.
And it's funny.
And it's animated.
Yeah.
It's animated, and it's that conversational style of Dr. Katz where it's
Yes.
it's an outline more than a script, and everybody's very
But
talented.
Which everybody's just ripping off left and right.
Not fair.
Not fair.
But where we had John Benjamin, the funniest white man in the room.
H. John Benjamin?
Yep.
Yeah.
We now have the comic genius of a guy named Tom Leopold, who's just this ridiculously funny guy who's comes from the world of comedy writing and producing, not from the world of stand-up. But he's Harry Shearer's go-to guy if he's doing anything funny with audio.
Okay. Harry Shearer from The Simpsons.
Yes, that the very one.
The very same.
You know
Oh my
what
God, I
the
feel
H
like I'm-
is for on H. John Benjamin? Oh, I just found this out.
What is it?
Affectation.
Affectation.
Affectation. You know what? I think I even mentioned this at the Paradise. Is the way I used to drive John Benjamin crazy was every day I'd say to him, "You are driving me absolutely Miss Daisy." I'd say that's John Benjamin.
We have a lot of similarities there. We make a lot of these. I love these kind of jokes. I love that kind of joke very much. Dr. Katz actually was my first taste of the. I know this is maybe a trite thing, but it's kind of like a glimpse into the comedic mind. You know what I mean? I started to see. I didn't even realize. I think I was young enough that I didn't even realize they were comedians. I was just like, this guy's got funny guys on. You know what I mean? This is a dumb question, but what is your doctorate in? What are you a doctor of?
I'm not a doctor of anything. I'm a doctor of comedy.
You're a cartoon character
cartoon
called
doctor.
Dr. Katz.
Oh, okay. So, the doctor is fake.
Right.
I thought you were.
He's not a
But,
shrink.
but
no.
in Newton, Massachusetts, there's so many shrinks
Yes.
that if you go outside and yell help, somebody will say, "You have issues."
Do you go to therapy?
I've been in and out of therapy all my life.
Yeah.
And
Were your parents cool with that? I feel like
my parents were. My mom was gone when I was very young.
Okay.
She died when I was very
that's
young.
why you were looking for her voice.
Oh, maybe.
And that's
Oh, you're a sensitive guy. Oh, look at that. And,
you don't fuck with me, fella, which is a David Mamet line. I say it all the time. Don't fuck with me, fella. You know what play it's from? You're his buddy.
American Buffalo?
Don't fuck with me, fella. What are you talking about?
Could be
Glengarry?
It is Glengarry.
Oh.
Shelley the Machine Levine.
And the thing is, David and I worked at a company called Web Realty in Chicago.
I got a lot of things to bring back. Let's talk about it. We got Ping Pong, Jerusalem.
And Web Realty I was learning how to get the real estate salesman into a meeting, what's called a cold sit.
Yes.
And he was writing a Pulitzer Prize winning play. So I made like $85 a week, and he built a career.
Can we call him and ask him if he wrote that play about the guy who does the call into the radio? Have you seen the Toy and Bee? You know Toy and Bee tiles?
No, but it's not Eric Bogosian that you're thinking of? You think about Eric Bogosian, the playwright?
No, it's Mamet that's accused of writing a play that was based on a call-in from a guy who was putting down the tiles that say Resurrect the Dead, based on the movie Apocalypse Now and all this sort of stuff. So there's this guy who's trying to spread this like kind of manic message out there who says that Mamet wrote this play based on a guy who does a call-in and has these huge delusions of grandeur and making people live forever. And then it's very, very close to what actually happened this one night on a radio show. And then in one interview, Mamet says that he did hear that, and in another one, he says that I don't mean to hold your feet to Mamet's fire here, and I honestly don't really care.
I don't actually know. I don't know the answer to that.
Let's call him.
But
Does he answer the phone, cunt?
Not. No, but I don't know if I can get away with this. He used to refer to his.
Ooh.
Well, he called his mother Aunt Lee.
Aunt Lee.
He called his. We always made up names for people at Goddard. We went to Goddard College, and there was some woman who was very short, and David called her the assistant dwarf.
That's not that bad. I feel like you're omitting one.
Yeah, the original lesbian was the first gay woman ever that we met. I'm trying to do this without getting in trouble with anybody I'm related to.
I completely understand that. It's weird because in a world where people hijack tweets and read emails and steal stuff and hack your life, basically, that Mamet joke, you know what I mean, which is something he said to you, or like the, schoolboy version of the internet would have been he wrote it down and like passed it to you. But like I thought about that. I was like, comedians can be pretty offensive people.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's one of the joys and the green lights of being in this world is we kind of assume that most things...
We're disinhibited.
What a lovely way to put it.
Shrink.
You're a doctor. You're a fake doctor. And I love it. Right. But that's one of the privileges, I think, of being a comedian is that you get to hang out with comedians and that we don't have that... filter. I don't want to paint the wrong picture. We're not like a bunch of swashbucklers being cruel to each other, but you can kind of say anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm wondering if
I love the
that'll
fact that
bite
you
us
used
in
the
the
term
air.
swashbucklers.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden we were back in the 30s. Is that where that came from?
No, it's more like pirate days.
Oh.
Well, back in the 30s, that's what they referred to. I'm just.
He's on the media level.
Right? Yeah.
But we were just talking about some comedians we know who are extremely funny, who part of the secret is they are ruthless.
Yeah, very like mean people.
They're ruthless. I don't know if they're mean, but they don't care.
Yeah,
that much who they set up and hurt
in life. Not the things they say, but they backstabbing show busy types.
No, just while they're doing their comedy, they'll just be ruthless.
Let me ask you on stage.
I mean,
yeah,
and sometimes getting a laugh. I've said totally reprehensible things in the name of comedy.
Sure.
Here are 6 of them. No,
but 6 a funny number.
But if you can't apply the brakes to hurt somebody you care about, then there's a part of you missing.
Called compassion, probably.
Why do you have to name it?
Well, Jonathan, you have MS, and you make jokes about it.
Now
I have to. See, you just did.
Yeah, I do. I do make jokes about it.
And see, Steve Martin has a quote that's come up on the show. I thought that was a bit. It was like, if he brings up MS, play Brown Eyed Girl loudly.
Sorry.
Hey, where did we go?
Now it's just vibrating, kind of nice.
Somebody from Texas.
Yeah.
Is this a baby you know?
My granddaughter.
It would be weird if you didn't know that baby.
Her name is Thea. Sweetest little girl in the world.
Thea? It's like a lady god.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. I love it, though.
And this is the only other call I will take because I promised John Benjamin that I told him I was going to be here. He has his own ringtone.
This is when John Benjamin calls you that it does Sam Kinison?
Yep. Oh, that's a good reference.
It wasn't Sam Kinison?
No, it's just a
sound effect. A regular yell?
It's a toy.
I love sound effects.
Okay, so the Steve Martin quote is, when we're young men, we make all these jokes about cancer.
Right.
Then your friends get cancer and you stop making them. You have MS, but of course you probably started making jokes about MS when you were diagnosed, I'm guessing. You didn't have like 10 minutes on MS, just ironically.
No, but I did explain to on the radio on air with somebody that when I started doing comedy, I had maybe 5 minutes I got married. I had 15 minutes. I had kids. I had 20 minutes per kid. And then MS, I could do an hour and a half.
Is that right?
It's that funny.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be addressed, I have to admit.
Right. I mean, it's not. It's a disease. I wish I had a hook that wasn't a disease, which is why I'm working so hard on the "I'm no hero" thing.
But you were dead on, because you had an MS joke that referred to a different disease, and you said to me just yesterday, I can't use that disease anymore
Because I know somebody who's
because we just found out
struggling.
someone
Isn't that weird?
who has that disease. So that joke is gone, or you have to find another disease that's less,
Right.
that's more, or just different. I don't know.
I've mentioned this many times on the show, so please forgive me, listeners, but I had this joke, and I've been doing it about how my mom is 70-something. So she's at that age where when I can't find her, I only go home a couple times a year, and when I can't find her, I immediately start looking for a body. And I know that's like a shocking thing to say, but it's like I have a need to share those feelings. So my mom's I go, Mom? And then if I can't find her, she catches me looking around on the floor, and then I'm like, oh, nothing. It's a very dark joke, but I can't do it. Just the thought of my mom dying makes me so sad that I like cut it out. But really, it's like there's something funny there, but it's too close to something. So you have a friend that gets a disease, you lose the joke.
But do you do that joke? I mean,
I would do it, but every time I do it, and you know, we have lizard brains and stupid brains and superstitious brains, and we're like, this is gonna, you know, cause my mother's death somehow, which is stupid. But you know,
it's true.
As I'm talking about it now, I don't like to. It's true. See, joke, good.
My mother died of lung cancer when I was a teenager, and she smoked 3 packs of Camels every day for 30 years.
Wow.
Died in November, smoked for another 3 months. And that's the darkest joke I tell, I think.
That's a great joke. I don't think there's a... What was the disease that you had to omit? Do you mind saying?
I do mind.
You do?
Yeah.
So of course, because a friend of yours got
Yeah.
it. Yeah, how sad. See, so you...
And somebody you probably know, so I'm not going to mention it.
Well,
Jesus.
well, now we're on the case.
That limits it to about 8,000 people.
Right.
So that, I guess that's... So I'm interested in this ruthless thing you were saying, though, Tom. Is on stage, the persona of the sharpshooting, go fuck yourself guy?
I've noticed some good improvisers who get on mic and you put in the booth. If they're really good, sometimes they're ruthless because they don't play by the normal rules of improv, where you never negate and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they just go the opposite direction and make you do the work, and they'll set you up to fail.
That sounds horrible? These are funny people?
Yes, extremely talented. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, but it works.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
well, I'll tell you. Cover your earphones and I'll tell you.
Okay. I wish that worked.
Yeah, it didn't.
So that's interesting. I find that those people, those really mean people, a lot of for example, Anthony Jeselnik. Do you know Jeselnik?
No.
He's a great comedian. He will do jokes about anything, of course, like cancer jokes. It doesn't matter. And off stage, I find that those guys tend to be the biggest sweethearts. Really, really nice.
Yes.
You look cold. Here's my jacket, sort of stuff. Is that your experience with this monster that you're working with?
No. But I like the sweet guys too, like Andy Kindler. I can't think of a sweeter guy off mic.
Yeah.
Truly, he always it seems like he wants to get my coat for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. He is a very sweet, and he's not too mean on stage.
No.
But I'm kind of that way too. Stage is the only place where I can be a 3-dimensional person. Do you find that it opens you up, Jonathan?
No.
No.
I mean, in a certain way, it permits me to say things I couldn't say at Staples.
Yeah.
I mean,
You work pretty well at Staples. Any salesperson is.
I mean, I don't really need a big audience. I just need more than one person.
Yes.
There's a woman at Walgreens who you torture.
Oh, well, I don't know if have you spent much time in Newton?
No.
Well, anybody who lives in Newton knows about this woman at Walgreens.
No, really?
Yeah, who is, she's a mean, retarded adult. And the only one I've ever met. She's really mean.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
You're not just that fact, but you're reminding me of I went to school with someone who was, and again, I want to be careful here, not say that I'm putting them down, but she was the smallest person I've ever seen in my life. It wasn't traditional little person. Something else was happening. And she was a real bitch. She was the bitchiest bitch. Who was it?
I like when you turn to me and say, see what I'm saying about small people?
Objectively, she knew she was a bitch. Now you give her the pass. None of us were mean back to this person because you're like, oh, I know you must be angry all the time because you're tiny. But like, she was meaner than her disability maybe even warranted. I think she was just naturally a bitch, and then that made it worse. Yeah. But that's what this Newton Walgreens? Although to be fair, most of Walgreens employees are pretty shitty.
You know some people from Newton just through the world of comedy.
Sure.
And if you ask them, do you know any mean retarded adults in the town?
Yes.
Well, we're all talking about the same woman.
Really?
Yeah.
There's folklore.
It's not. Yeah, it is folklore. Yeah.
She's become the stuff of folklore.
Right.
She'll live long past her stress toy squeeze sales.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well,
I'll tell you one thing. Her name is not blah blah blah. No.
Why does she come up? You still see this woman?
Yeah.
She still works?
Yeah, she's still working. But she's also worked at many different places in Newton. She'd always pop up wherever they would hire somebody who was intellectually challenged
and mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you mean? Yes. That's really funny. There was a woman in Lexington that worked at the CVS who was also differently abled. I couldn't to this day, even if I was trying to tell you what was different about her. But she worked at so many different CVSs that to this day, me and my brother still laugh about Claire Vincent Smith. That's what I called her when I was a kid. I couldn't even think of a girl middle name with V. We call her Claire Vincent Smith, CVS. Not her name.
Do you know the name Edna St. Vincent Millay?
No.
You know who that is, right? Katie, do you know who that is?
ESVM?
Edna St. Vincent Millay. You never heard that name?
It's literature.
Oh, I guess that's interesting.
Yeah.
What?
She's a famous
We're a different
poet.
generation.
Yeah. Poetry's one of those things. It's always right there to enhance your life and make you smell the rain, but
I never got into it. I like limericks.
Who can be bothered when you have dirty limericks?
A lovely young lassie from Banff.
From Banff?
Yeah, you do the next line.
Love to go out for a dance?
No, there is no next line. That's why Banff is a good line.
No, I was using Eminem's style. If you just say it with confidence, it rhymes. Bam! Oh Jesus! I'm sorry to miss that. We used to improvise limericks all the day, live long day. Yeah. Well, I feel like we should. I don't want to harp on it, but you were diagnosed in '97,
right?
And how old were you?
I was a very tender age of 49.
49.
Yep. So I had 49 MS-free years.
Yes.
Which is a lot more than some people get.
Yes, and true.
And it's also a disease that affects more women than men. So it's a great way to meet chicks.
Are you familiar with the moving company MS Carriers?
No, but I know MS-DOS.
I'm going into a gunfight with a knife right now. Like, it's a dull knife. I'm like, I bet I have some MS jokes you haven't thought of. Every time I see MS Carriers, I'm like, that's a little weird.
No, but I asked my first neurologist. I said he had a sort of a holistic approach. He said no more red wine, and no more wine, no more alcohol, no more salt. And I said, what about sex? He said, I'm seeing somebody. And we're out.
Well, let me ask you this. It's a disease that you can slow down, or you can do things like that?
You can control the progression to some degree with drugs.
Yes. Is it things like no red wine? No salt?
No.
No, not really?
No, I made that up.
You just got a laugh that sounded like a fart. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
And there are thousands of people out there with MS going, shit.
Yeah, because there's in the closet.
Yeah, because
MS,
there's some asymptomatic people with MS. You know, they're called the walking wounded. by my eye doctor.
That was my. I don't know if I'm allowed to laugh at that, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Walking wounded is funny. That's funny to me. But you were in the closet. You were in the
because I was producing a TV show out here.
Yes,
for Warner Brothers. No, called Raising Dad.
Raising Dad
with Bob Saget and Kat Dennings, a woman named Brie Larson, Jerry Adler. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a bad show, but it was too physical of a job for me. And I hired B.J. Novak as a staff writer, a guy named Norman Steinberg, to co-produce it
Wait, this was in
in the year 2000.
I thought The Office was BJ's first job.
No, well, the first job was writing on the staff of Raising Dad.
Oh, well, you would know. That's weird. Because, speaking of folklore, there's folklore of BJ doing stand-up and getting hired. Have you heard this story? Someone said, who's the EP on The Office? I forget. Greg Daniels?
Greg Daniels.
Yeah.
Greg Daniels saw him do stand-up, liked the faces he made, quote, in between jokes. Not his jokes. He liked the faces he made in between jokes and hired him based on that. That's a story. I could ask BJ that. He declined to do the show because he doesn't like getting too personal, which is completely fine. Maybe we should take that out. But actually, that's fine. But he was writing before.
Well, I wrote a movie with his father, who's a very successful ghostwriter, and we both of us said when BJ was about 10, we said, "Oh, someday we're both going to be working for him." He was just such a smart, ambitious kid.
Yes,
and his brother Jesse is even. I can't really say more talented. Just has a different.
I understand.
Different kind of talent that is brilliant, and he's writing the music for Mindy Kaling's show.
That's cool. You wrote music for. Well, let's wrap up. I won't forget to ask you about your music and the blues, and you composed for Robin Williams and all this sort of stuff.
I wrote a couple of songs and toured with him.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But let's talk about staying in the closet with MS. So there was a time when you were minimizing your symptoms, and people didn't know.
Right. Because in Hollywood, you're not allowed to be sick or old.
Yeah.
So I moved back to Newton, where both things are encouraged.
But that has to be. Does that make it worse? I mean, the hiding it.
Oh yeah, and I tell people it's much easier to live with MS than to pretend you don't have it.
Yeah, that's got to be a horrible burden to be aware of it. I feel like it must almost assist in. Well, this is a pretty lofty claim, but it might even help with your overall well-being, your feeling, if you're out about it. I think we talking about NPR. I learned on NPR that they were like a secret. Is they can now prove that it's medically dangerous to keep a secret in, that they know how that affects your brain and stuff. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
So they can hook people up to things and be like, oh, when you let go of that secret, that's why therapy can help, and being open about these things that maybe have no benefit.
Were you and Terry Garr both in touch and not telling the world at the same time? Because I seem to remember that.
I think I came out before she did. Because she was a working, high-paid actress.
Yeah.
And I made my living mostly with my voice.
Yeah.
So,
God.
but we became friends. She did a sketch in Aspen where we were doing Dr. Katz Live, and I was doing a couple of other sketches, and she and I worked together on a sketch. Yeah. And she became a patient of Dr. Katz's.
Yeah, she was wonderful.
Yeah.
Can I ask you this? This is a weird question. I'm a big bumbling idiot.
Is that the premise for the story, or is it just a sad confession?
And then it has nothing to do with it?
Right.
I just want to be the representative of bumbling idiots everywhere
who
can feel uncomfortable when they talk to people with disabilities.
Well, it makes people uncomfortable. It does.
It does.
Yeah, but
it's weird. But I want to know, what should we know? I want to know what you have to say to that.
When I'm on my scooter, I use an electric scooter, sometimes in Newton, to get around. Mm-hmm. And if I bump into a woman pushing a baby carriage, she will apologize to me.
It's interesting.
Yeah, just because it makes people so uncomfortable.
Right. When you're bumping into an infant. Yeah. And that shows the priority. Like, what are the mistakes people are making? Like,
I can if she's breastfeeding, I can pull up to her and yank the baby's mouth off her nipple. and she will apologize to me.
As you begin to take your shift.
Right.
Like even the term disabled makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, am I supposed to say differently abled? Because I went to CFS.
It's much better than invalid, because if you spell it out, that means invalid.
I know.
That's my least favorite.
Is invalid still being thrown around? That's with the swashbucklers.
Yeah, I don't think it's a very popular term now.
In Paris, on the subways, there's signs, because it's the law that you have to stand up for wounded war veterans. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, the word in French is mutilé, so it's stand up for mutilated people.
Wait, it translates it?
Yeah, that's the actual translation.
What a weird cause.
Yeah, so if someone who walks on is mutilated, you have to stand up and give your seat to them.
That's not a good phrase.
No, terrible.
Not a good phrase.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, Dr. Katz, because I like calling you Dr. Katz.
Okay.
It's funny, Dr. Katz, because you said retarded earlier, which we're all from Boston, so retard is like being thrown around like it's going out of style. But I know that word's on the way out. If they make a Mad Men about our time, it's all Diet Coke with aspartame and calling people retards, just to like timestamp this time. Because we have 5 more years with retard. In fact, I don't even like saying it anymore. No. But it was interesting. See, that's my baby carriage. When you say it, I don't correct you. I'm like, he has MS. But if another guest said retard, I'd be like, you shouldn't say that. People are going to be offended that we said retard.
No, in fact, my wife has a cousin who's...
The joke. We all know what the joke is. We all know what the joke is.
I can't tell you.
We all know the joke. I thought for sure you were going to say, who is a retard?
No, he's not. He's just, he's a very sweet guy. And he thinks that the Boston Red Sox... No,
I have a shot this year or whatever.
Well, thank you for helping me out.
Yes, there. I'm trying to draft the joke. The adrenaline is going through me right now.
There is no joke. He's just a nice guy.
Yes, of course. So, but I mean, what is that bullshit? That was me treating you differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When
I didn't correct you for saying retard.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get it. Yeah, I understand that.
But I'm trying. I because it's uncomfortable, and that's the name of the show. I'd rather stay in that area.
Well, I've heard you describe, either you or somebody else on your show, talk about this incredibly wonderful world of discomfort.
Yeah.
Where comedy lives.
Yeah, it's a good place.
When I did my, when I recorded my one and only CD, Jonathan Katz Caffeinated. Also the file.
It's called Caffeinated?
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was Caffeinated.
No, Caffeinated. Because it's based on my love of coffee. I even wrote a love song to coffee. But I opened the show by saying I've been making people uncomfortable for more than 25 years. And it's true. That's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to shine. The weird thing about the podcast, and I know as podcasters, the idea is that like we can go down on stage. This would never fly. Like we would have never said the whole talking about words you're not supposed to say because that would bring things to a halt and all that sort of stuff. Dirty Yiddish would bring it to a screeching halt and all that sort of stuff. But it is interesting. There is funny stuff and there is important stuff at the end of a weird hallway that was paved with just a lot of discomfort.
Right.
So that is honestly, selfishly, I was like. See, again, is differently abled better than disabled?
No.
Okay, so as a disabled person, what should knuckleheads like me know?
No, you're
fucking
fucked
relax.
Up. You're all fucked up, Jay.
Is that a reference?
No,
you could refer to him
you
that
could
way.
refer to me as fucked up. Because, my body, my central nervous system is fucked up.
Yes.
But, it's still able to function in a very high... I like to think of myself as a high-functioning heroin addict, even though it's Tylenol at PM is my drug of choice.
Do you love a good Tylenol PM?
No, I don't.
I have the weirdest follow-up questions. This is what we're talking about. I'm like,
no. When I checked into the hotel where Tom and I are staying in different rooms, because we're differently abled.
Yes.
When I checked in, there was a pill on the floor that somebody had left behind, and it's either rat poison or ecstasy. And every night I play this game with myself. Am I going to take a chance tonight? Because if it's rat poison, I lose.
I want to ask if that's true. Is that true?
It is true. It is true.
I've seen the pill.
I have a photo of the pill. If you want
There's no writing on the film?
No, there's no markings. It's just a capsule.
If your body is fucked up, do you become more and more aware of the idea of yourself versus your body?
Yes.
Like philosophically?
Yeah.
The idea of you?
I know that I live in my head. I've always known that.
Yes.
But it's become more of an issue.
Yes.
Because there are things I can no longer do with my body that I used to be able to do.
Yes.
One thing I can do now with pretty much no uncertainty is there's no man who can beat me at arm wrestling. And you look like you're pretty fit.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay. Now, can you try 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
We'll just count to 3, and regardless of how strong you think you are, I'm going to win. 1, 2, 3, girl style. You can't lose. I cannot lose.
It's a podcast. You yielded and yelled girl style?
Yeah, because I'm
You're pulling me down.
pulling you down. Yeah, and actually hurt
girl style.
and actually hurt my back in the process. It's really pathetic.
We will say religion to the end, but is there? I have to imagine, even if you're not a religious or spiritual person, that there must be an increased longing as the body is failing you in this way, this specific way,
Right.
to be like, well, I'm a soul, and this is just my, as we say, as Duncan Trussell says, this is just my meat spaceship, and I'm visiting this world in this thing, and it needs some repairs, but fuck it, I'm so much more than this.
And
Or
no,
it's like either and when we go with that, or I don't believe in that at all.
I don't believe in. I mean, I think I'm a spiritual person, but
Did that surprise you, Tom?
It did. Yeah.
Oh, good.
But I don't believe in anything above and beyond the tooth fairy.
You cap it at the tooth. You put a tooth cap on it.
Yeah.
I'm trapped in my brain too, Dr. Cap.
Okay.
So
Nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there.
It's funny when you said I live in my head, and we all do. It's comedians and artistic people, creative people, even people that aren't necessarily creating a craft of art. I think there are still creative people that are also trapped in their heads a little bit. And is that where you end it, or you go like, you're rationally and consciously aware of your body being separate from your mind, or is it your body being separate from your soul?
My mind is, I think, separate from my soul. I mean, my mind, my brain is part of my body. My mind is something less tangible.
That's pure Chomsky.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, inform me. I'm going to try to talk as little as possible because I don't know anything about this.
Well, it's just the cognitive revolution sort of discovered this thing called the mind, that was separate from
the brain.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means.
Well, I can't.
Well, tell me what that. Let's talk about what that could mean. Let's put it in our own words or whatever. We with the brain create a consciousness that's separate. That's not necessarily God breathing a soul into us or whatever, but we've transcended our form or whatever.
Well, I guess the linguists were more talking about we're all born with this meta language in us.
Yes.
So if a Martian met any of us, and whether you were talking Swahili or you're Eskimo, it would all seem like shades of difference,
right,
to them. That we all have basically the same mental hardware,
right,
and so we're all really similar that way. And the linguistics goes so deep; it really controls the way you think. It's not just the way you do grammar,
right?
And so it goes deep.
It's not just how you put sentences together,
right? There's this thing. They refer to it as sort of deep structure that makes people wonder. As a matter of fact, for a while they were wondering if you're Hungarian, say, do you think because of not just the vocabulary of Hungarian, but because of the way the sentences are, but the deep structure in the language,
right?
Does it make you more prone to democracy or less?
Right. I would say that it does. Like language inhibits and enables us in different ways. Something that I used to think when I was in church was that we often sing about God being above us because above rhymes with love, that sort of stuff. So like we want to sing about God's love, and then therefore we're going to sing about him being above us, which is not a biblical idea.
Just a rhyme.
What's that? Just for the rhyme.
Yeah, that's
but if the word
funny idea.
Grace was above, would be singing about something much more meaningful, something we should be focusing on instead of where God is.
What does God know is down below.
What is that? You just did.
Yeah, I was like, if you could have gone the other way, because
Katie, I can tell from here you're playing Tetris. No.
Also, the number of songs with phone and alone it'll never stop growing. It'll never stop growing.
Right.
And good songwriters, Bob Dylan does it all the time. Phone alone. It's like waiting by the phone alone. Anyway.
I have a visual question, but I must ask it since you brought it up.
Sure.
There's this trope in all movies and sitcoms, and my wife says, no, they don't do that anymore. They do. Any sitcom, any movie, any TV show, when someone gets hung up on the phone, they look at the phone before they hang up.
Yes.
They look at it.
And they never say goodbye.
Well, that's another phenomenon. Yeah,
phenomenon.
That one I think is informing us. I had a phone call today that I ended without saying goodbye, and I was like, it's because I watched The Wire. So that's one. And two, looking at the phone.
But it's almost like an acting technique that you feel like you're not a very good actress or actor. Unless you look at the phone as a way of expressing how much you feel about it.
Yes.
But nobody looks at the phone when they get hung up on.
Yeah. Well, unless it's your cell phone, you want to know if it's a bars situation
that's new.
or whatever.
Yeah,
that's new. I agree with you.
But this started in the 30s. You look at the phone. Honey?
Well, what's informing what? They said in New York when Goodfellas came out, or I'm sorry, maybe it was The Godfather. It was The Godfather or Goodfellas, that the people spying on the real-life mobsters noticed that they were talking differently. They started talking like the movie. So our language, our Hungarian informs how we're thinking. Yeah. Movies, I bet I'm more likely to look at my phone because someone hung up on me because of the movie. I'll tell you also, if I'm on one of those old-school phones, like, the real receiver phones, whenever someone in a movie hangs up one of those phones, they have like a really poignant conversation. They let it fall in their thumb and they like dangle it a little bit and then hang it up a very certain way that I learned from these shows. But that being said, do we have souls?
I want to know, do you really hang up on someone without saying goodbye? I'm physically incapable of that.
Now, I've just started doing it. Wow. It's like Outliers. I'm young enough that you can still affect. Like my brother will never get Netflix because he's 2 years older than me. But I'm just young enough that I'll be like, you love weed and television. You should get Netflix.
Do you know that even the mafia is controlled by the mob?
I need to know what that means.
It's a David Mamet joke. I'm sorry, it's a little too cryptic.
I will grill you on Mamet. I swear to God. I
have to tell you a joke of his that became a joke of mine because he's generous that way.
Okay.
Former Vice President Al Gore was on Martha's Vineyard, and while he was there, he was bitten by a tick. The tick came down with chronic fatigue syndrome.
That's very good.
Yeah.
That's very, very funny. You tell him if he ever gives a shit about me, which never. He's informed. Joe DeRosa just did the podcast, and we are huge Mamet fans. We love Glengarry. I've seen it 1,000 million times. I've seen it in Chicago, The Steppenwolf. I've seen it in New York, and I've seen the movie 1 million times. And it informed my comedy profoundly because of the way that the sales guys speak is so persuasive and stuff. Right. The way that you say, and this is something that like people have noticed about my stand-up or whatever, and I always read it and I'm like, oh, that's Mamet. Like I learned that from Mamet. Saying, do you understand? Like, listen to me, all that sort of stuff. That's Mamet. It's all Mamet. And like, don't fuck with me, fella. It affects my life. Like, fuck do I care, George? Like, fuck do I care, George? All that I got to go see about a fella. It's this funny way of talking that there's a lot of us, and I mean stand-up comedians, that are like, yeah, Mamet taught us how to like be like direct kind of like cock-sucking comedians that are like, shut up, listen, hey, fella. Like that. Oh, I love it. He's really a huge influence of mine.
You know who's the person who's not an actress, but she should be, only because she can't finish a sentence, and that's what a lot of Mamet actors do.
Yes,
it's my mother-in-law.
Is that true?
Yeah, I'll be my mother-in-law. Ask me anything.
How's your filet?
I can. But ask me one more thing.
Do you want anything to drink?
Daddy said that. I mean, I shouldn't make fun of her. She's 86 years old. She's lonely. She's alone.
Yes. Well, that's the truth of it, isn't it? It was funnier when she was just a nobody to me.
But she has the affect of this lamp.
John, how can you say that? Because she listens to this podcast.
Yeah, she's a big podcast downloader.
Will David Mamet do the show? I've never done that before. Tried to book another guest while I'm talking to a guest, but you ask him, text him for me. But let's stay on this. I hope it's a little uncomfortable. This is a nice area. The idea of ourself being something more than our body. That's an interesting thought. And I feel like we sidetracked it.
The difference between me, you, Katie, and Tom is that Tom is the most literate guy I know.
Yes. Cool.
Katie, I know that you study the Torah.
The Talmud.
The Talmud.
She stopped after 4.
But Tom is really, he's a scientist and a scholar, among other things.
Well, then maybe we should put it to him.
So Tom, will you answer that question, please?
And by the way, this is 0.0% me putting either of you on the spot. I like talking about it together. This isn't like, you better have a good answer. I'm interested. You have a scientific mind?
I do.
Is it safe to assume that you think when this is over, we're done?
Yes.
Okay.
Incredibly safe to think that. But but I would...
Your directness is hilarious.
Thank you.
No Jewish Quakers, and it's over, baby.
Yeah. But
and you're not talking about the podcast. You're talking about life.
Yeah, I'm talking about life.
And the podcast is over.
Right.
Is there anything else? But that thing about everybody lives in their head or creative people live in their head.
Yeah.
I am so in my head, I can't even get out enough to wonder about the body versus the head. Sometimes I don't know if I'm hungry or not.
That's really... Oh, you're like a machine.
Yeah, I'm very geeky. I'm a computer guy.
Who has the dysfunction then? The science guy whose rational brain is so buff and strong and rational and reason and proving and I don't even know the words. I was looking for provable, objective, quantifiable. I'm trying to sound smart now. Or the down in Spain, open linen T-shirt writing poetry whose soul is coming through his eyes so bad that you get a sunburn looking at him. He's an idiot because he believes in everything, and the sunset speaks of redemption and grace and everlasting life. And you can't remember to eat breakfast, but everything you know has a 1 or a 0 to it.
I think I'm the big loser on that comparison, because what they're finding out is that a truly powerful cognition requires emotion. In other words, you can't make great decisions without your emotions informing them.
Holy shit.
And this is not just philosophical theory, that this is all brain work.
I'm laughing because I gave Jonathan a tiny water and I have a huge water.
Yeah, it's not
Do you want a water as well?
I got a huge water.
Please keep going. So sorry.
That was water.
So, emotion informs our ability to think?
To think clearly, reliably,
right?
To do well in everything, and in physics, to do well in everything.
So, Einstein was probably in touch with his emotions.
He was,
yeah, like a passionate person.
Yeah, he was passionate. He slept with his cousin.
Yeah,
that's a fun.
Well, who didn't?
Back then.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you're fucking your cousin, you probably really liked your cousin.
Yeah,
yeah. But then you made a pretty weird choice.
I don't know why.
Well, he married her then.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
So he did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why Jewish comedians always bring up Adolf Hitler, but why is it that Eva Braun kept her maiden name?
They only married in the last 4 seconds of her life.
In the bunker. But
Yeah.
wouldn't she want to become Mrs. Hitler for those 4 seconds?
Maybe she did.
Oh.
There's no record.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us tonight, Mr. and Mrs. Hitler.
Oh, Jesus. Please be the first to help me welcome Mr. and Mrs. Hitler. Everyone applauds. I couldn't be more interested in that. So you're aware... I use the term dysfunction because I'm being as smart as I can be right now, and it's not that great.
Well, sometimes Tom and I will describe people who have and autism has a very broad range, and Asperger's spectrum. Those are the people at MIT. The
Asperger's, high-functioning Asperger's. Right. So these guys that can maybe invent something or cure something, that sort of special, it's okay. That sort of special kind of intelligence. Yeah. But do I hear you correctly? And then it's not envy maybe, but a respect for the other guy, the painter. I'm picturing the father character in Vicky Cristina Barcelona, Javier Bardem's father.
Yeah.
Who you brought to mind earlier, because in the movie he refuses to learn English because he doesn't want to pollute his brain because he believes Spanish is the most beautiful language in the world.
Yeah.
Which again was speaking to your point earlier. So already was on my mind, and now I'm using him as the example of just that passionate lover, old man drinking wine from one of the bottles that doesn't have a candle melting in it.
Yeah.
As he paints a tasteful nude.
But the thing is, which dimension are you talking about as far as what's good? Because what's happy can be disturbing. There was that study recently done, an international study where they had a questionnaire, what do they call it? An instrument that they did.
A survey?
It was a survey. Mm-hmm. And they thought that the happiest people were going to be the sort of Latin European countries, with the wine and and they found out that it was like the Swiss and the Danish because the infrastructure worked. in their world, and that makes people happy.
Really?
Just being able
Ovaltine doesn't hurt.
Yeah, Ovaltine?
Yeah.
Who knows that reference?
And Nutella.
Wait, what is Nutella?
When I think of Denmark, or you said the Dutch, right?
Yeah.
When I think of it, Nutella is like a hazelnut chocolate spread that is popular everywhere but here.
But people want shit to work. They want to count on being able to go out to a bank, go out to a train,
Yes.
go out and get water, electricity, and
Right.
stuff. And the people who don't have that, even if they have these marvelous, passionate, poetic lives, but they can't rely on the necessities of life, are fucking miserable.
It's community. It's bigger than community. It's infrastructure. It's the highways working.
Yes.
It's the bank working.
Yeah, so it's kind of so I was
Interesting.
saying, you're looking at this dimension of which is better to be,
Well, you want to talk about happiness, you being in your head, I have to imagine that decreases your happiness.
Totally.
Do you have children?
Yes, too.
I just saw this about happiness, is that marriage, it tends to increase your happiness. Children tends to decrease your happiness. Isn't that weird? But
surprising.
Children increases the likelihood that you'll remain married.
Yes.
I don't know what the fuck we're doing. This is
It certainly increases the fact that you'll remain alive.
You have something to live for.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Well, you're less likely to gamble on rat poison versus ecstasy.
By the way, where is that pill right now?
It's in my room.
Yeah.
Unless...
God, if it's in your pocket, it might get hot enough for you to absorb it.
Yeah. Pete, how old are you?
33.
You have such a curious mind.
I can for 2 hours every once in a while. I appreciate that.
No, you're surprising us. Me.
You study religion, though, right?
I did, yeah. I love talking about religion, but that's what I was doing in Israel. But that's where it started to fall apart. Was the religion? I want to know. You feel more intelligent, more introverted, more rational, less happy. Is that something? Maybe I could put that to you, Jonathan. Do you ever think that your brain, your comedic brain, your creative brain, is inhibiting your ability to maybe be just like a little bit more simple and a little bit more...
Yeah, more loving.
More loving?
Yeah. Easier to live with.
You mean for your wife and family?
Yeah. But...
You're one of the most sociable guys I know.
I am extraordinarily social. Social, I don't know about sociable. What's the difference?
Well, you call me 35, 40 times a day.
Oh, that's because I'm lonely. No, but I will approach a stranger rather than be alone. Just
right.
And sometimes it's a little creepy for them.
Well, you want to talk about happiness? It's our desire to like be together. Like is huge. So that's actually kind of good.
But I tell you what I will not do. I will never have sex with a woman other than my wife in a way that threatens our national security. Because I am not David Petraeus.
That is such a relief to see you, I'm sure.
I don't know. For me personally, I wouldn't trade my brain. I think I'm in the running for a great life. I hope so. And my brain is definitely in the way some of the time, but I don't think I would change it for anything. That has to be valuable. I have to imagine both of you are that way. Even if you can sit here and tell me that your overactive brain is overactive to the extent that you can be like, I bet I would be happier if it were less active. You wouldn't if you had that genie with the lamp that we talked about.
You're right. I don't think I would.
You wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
Because you're funny.
The devil you know.
The devil you know. You're fucking right.
Yeah.
I wrote a song, which I'm embarrassed to admit, called I Get a Real Kick Out of Me. And I do.
What are we, brothers?
Yeah.
I'm a big self-celebrator. You do?
Yeah.
I love that.
I also get an enormous kick out of my wife and my daughters.
Can you tell me about that? That's my other big interest. I love religion and I love relationships. And I was just in therapy today talking about it.
Well, the thing about my wife is that she's ridiculously silly. And I never know what's going to strike her as funny.
That's great.
My daughters are both funnier than me and faster than me, and they see my jokes coming a mile away.
Yeah,
they don't mind because they love me, but they also don't. It doesn't strike them as funny. They're just quicker than me.
That's great. But your wife, because she's not coming at you head on, you found this anomaly. You found this person that will always be tickled by you,
right?
And you by her.
But it's not because I have a clever joke.
Right.
It's because I ask a bizarre question or look at her in an odd way.
Yes. Well, that sounds like she delights in who you are.
Yeah.
Not some performance you're doing.
Right.
That sounds pretty great.
Or another way to put it is she doesn't pay to get in.
She doesn't. Jesus, fuck. Free podcast? This is a free podcast. You know, people download this for free.
Really?
Neither of you are being paid. I don't know if anyone told.
That's crazy.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
She doesn't. That is one of those. Yeah. That's a life changer for me. She doesn't pay for admission. She's just already there.
Right.
She gets it. She understands the cosmic joke.
Right. For 30 years we've been together.
Wow. Can I?
And I have to say, it just keeps getting longer.
Is it? Okay, so it's interesting that marriage. When I heard that data that marriage makes people happier, typically, that surprised me. I thought people were going to be like, oh, it's better to be, here I am a single man and you know, I can go and do whatever I want. And that sounds pretty nice. But like, we're social creatures. You're saying, especially you're talking to strangers and you're calling Tom 30 times a day. So marriage must be a pretty nice fit.
The downside is that when I realized that I needed another pair of socks, I had to go to American Eagle and ask the guy there, because my wife wasn't around, if I can wear white socks with black sneakers.
I'm going to think that's a no. What did American... Uh-oh.
The guy... You know what the guy's answer was? He said, look, I'm from Chicago.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And that meant...
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it meant.
Look, we're playing, slightly different sports, being different ages. But
Yeah.
I had an intervention recently where I was told no more white socks unless you're at the gym. So for those listening, there's your LA fashion tip. This has been the most kicky table. I've kicked it. I'm wearing dark socks today. I'm wearing black socks today.
Who does your sneakers?
Who does my sneakers?
Who are you wearing today?
Oh my God. I'm wearing me. And where does that begin or end?
Right.
So
Katie, is that a three-piece ensemble?
Ensemble? There's a three-piece ensemble?
Are you wearing a three-piece ensemble?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Katie's wearing Chucks. Are those really Chuck All-Stars?
Oh, nice. Is that like a variation on Converse?
That was the original.
No, those are them. They're Chuck Taylors made by Converse. Right,
And
Taylor?
Are those Lee denim jeans or
Lucky.
Lucky is the brand name?
Nice. Nicely done.
And do you have, and this is none of my business, a tattoo? Good for you. Good for you.
I take my shirt off. I just
because
covered in tattoos.
if you have a tattoo, you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery, which I have no desire to do that to you now anyway. Because you're so young and vital.
So the wife question, you're happily married?
Yes.
That's wonderful. Tom, and you're married?
Yes, just for the record, I also love my wife.
You can go on the record.
Yes.
And when the singularity happens, they can reconstruct your personality based on this interview. And when I ask the hologram that is you'll go, yes, I love my wife in the same way. Yeah. That's what your great-grandchildren will be talking to.
You believe in the singularity.
Here's hoping. I mean, there's no God, right?
What does that mean? What does that mean, the singularity? What does that phrase mean?
When everything sort of comes to, the universe either expands the infinite or comes back in.
It's when the rate of technology, like this phone, in the 70s when I was born, would have been in a wing of MIT, and now it's in my pocket. And then the technology will keep progressing to the point where we can't keep up with it anymore. Like, we're already like, I just bought the iPhone 5, and the iPhone 5S is out tomorrow. Like, that'll stop happening. It'll just keep improving itself. And then,
so when we die and we meet our maker, do you think it's going to be Steve Jobs?
he'll definitely be high-fiving Steve Jobs, that's for sure. But the thing is that comes down. This actually speaks to what we were talking about one topic before, but I won't forget to talk about marriage. Is the idea that Korg is his name, I believe. The guy who made the keyboards and basically...
Kurzweil. I was just about to mention him.
He lives in Newton.
Weird. See, I'm the kind of idiot that I'm like, there's electrical things, and you mentioned this.
No, but the Korg is another keyboard, but he...
Yeah, I don't.
But he now believes that we're just...
Who, Korg?
No, Ray Kurzweil, who I know.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Get him on the show.
Okay. But he believes that we're... This flesh stage is just part of our evolution.
Right, of course.
Yeah. Because we'll soon...
Yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah. I can't believe you know about this. Please keep going.
Yeah. Well, I don't know much about it except the obvious that, we have... Our brain has developed this network, and the network is going to get bigger and bigger and smarter and more powerful, and there'll be less and less need for our bodies.
Right.
And where does it stop? Because, except I just don't know. You see, the net is going to be smart enough to power itself, and
right.
So he's looking forward to it, and he's trying to preserve his body.
He's trying to survive.
Yeah, and he thinks
Taking all the
he's going to
vitamins.
live to 350, 400.
And he
Right.
hasn't created a virtual version of his father.
That's what he wants to do. Although the arc of the movie tries to really hinge his creative process on wanting to bring his father back. That's why I was only partially joking that you could reconstruct my personality based on this podcast.
No, but I think in real life, Kurzweil is trying to create an avatar of his father.
Oh,
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
but I have a Kurzweil keyboard, and it's fantastic. Really, truly, he made everything he makes, because he started making that reading machine for the blind. That
Yes.
was his first
And
thing.
did he make the Moog synthesizer? Was that
No, that was Moog. Actually, a guy whose
Moog?
last, yeah,
Guy had a guy named Moog?
yeah.
But this is an interesting thing. I'm 33, so I will probably, bus be damned if I'm not hit by a bus, live to 2027,
So, what are you guessing your age will be?
when the singularity happens.
No. How old are you assuming you'll live to?
Oh, I don't know. See, but then, what is life? I've already had this fake conversation with my consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah, I've already fantasized about the idea of someone talking to me, and what I would say is, I'm here. I'm talking to you in the way that I would have talked to you in 2012 when I was 33. But am I really here? I don't feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a dick. I'm not hungry. I can't really. What am I there? That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Is this brain? Is this computer me? I'm a soul guy. That's because. It's partly because I want to be a soul guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It delights me. I'm using that word deliberately. It delights me when you're like, we're dead, it's over. I want Stephen Hawking's in my room of religion. He's in my church. You know what I mean? So I'm ready to throw it all away, but I'm also so on board for people to be like, everything means everything, and we all have souls, and we're eternal, and you're a reincarnation of this, and that's why you love the blues and all this sort of
Tom,
stuff.
you should tell Pete about your experience with Stephen Hawking.
Well, he ran over my foot. Yeah. He did, and that was a heavy fucking machine. It's not, what is your big scooter weigh, John? Do you happen to know the specs on that?
350 pounds, and it really goes 110 or 11 or 11.
Oh.
The speedometer says 110.
But he has a big scooter, that with all his gear.
It looks like a Vespa, but it has four wheels.
That's yours. Your scooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the one I arrived on today, but at home.
I didn't see the one you were on today.
The one I'm on today is tiny. You can put it in the back of your pocket.
What I was going to say about Ray Kurzweil
Yes,
is I think
please.
he's an example of a guy who lives in his head, incredibly bright, is not informed by emotions, and so maybe he's not making the most rational choices about this whole evolutionary toward electronic, toward the digital human.
Right.
I don't think he's capable of making great cognitive leaps. That's my feeling.
That's interesting.
Because he doesn't have what you have, so you got to.
What do I have?
Well, you have.
You have an emotional life.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Isn't that what you're talking about that he's missing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think he probably thinks he has an emotional life, and he probably has a rationalization for it. But
Right.
he's not really.
It's funny.
Comfortable in his own skin. Are you comfortable in your own skin?
It's a pursuit.
Yeah.
It's a pursuit. I just went to a club in Atlanta where I wish I could remember the name of it. It was one of the best nights of my life. Me and my friend Chris Thayer went
Was
to
it
this.
a comedy club?
We performed it
At the Punchline?
We weren't at the Punchline. We were at a place called the Relapse Theater. We did a show. This was what's today? Monday. This was on Saturday night, and we went to this club in Atlanta, and it was like just the biggest dive bar I've ever been to, but in the best way. There were old, thicker strippers, okay, and it's not a strip club. There just happened to be old, thicker
hanging
strippers
out there.
Yeah, but dancing. So
really?
they're naked.
You mean they've thickened with age?
Yeah, they're bigger girls. Not to the point of like carnival sort of levels, but you're like that's not a traditional stripper, and they're just blasting funk like Parliament and James Brown and stuff. And my friend Chris Thayer, who's a hilarious comedian, was dancing. So cliche, but like no one was watching, and that inspired me. I was dancing too. I love dancing, but like I'm also I'm a tall man. I'm like a lighthouse. Everybody can kind of see my moves. I don't really blend in. So it's hard for me to shut off that inner monologue. One of the goals of my life is to learn how to do that without, I'm not a big drug guy. I do like alcohol, but I don't really do it for that purpose. But I'm trying to shut off my brain. I'm trying to get into what we're talking about that Kurzweil doesn't necessarily have, that human heartbeat, that like I'm dancing. I'm, kissing a baby and eat this pineapple.
Well, I think it's Ken Kesey said, you're perfect, because he said, guys like you who are incredibly introspective, to an extreme point.
Yes.
As who isn't, but said you'll never go crazy. You'll just be fucking miserable,
That's the concern, isn't it?
That's comforting, isn't it?
Well, we want these brains, as you said, Jonathan, that we wouldn't trade it. But we also would like to be able to be like my friend Chris and dance to funk music next to a topless gay black man that complimented his moves. Was a big deal for him.
Was he on substances?
He
that
wasn't.
Allowed him to
he
do that?
wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when you mention ecstasy and stuff, that is like, have you taken mushrooms?
Oh, yeah, mushrooms I took years ago.
Similar to, I believe it's similar to ecstasy. I don't know. It's similar to acid. Have you taken acid? These that was a nod. It's a podcast.
I nodded out.
These ego diminishing things I think are good for us, can be good for us. I've only done mushrooms 5 or 6 times in my life, but every time I've been like, oh, this is what it feels like to lose my brain and just be my mind. Mm-hmm. And not even be my mind, just be consciousness. You listen to NPR stuff. They do a lot of stuff.
Have you ever had nitrous oxide from a dentist?
I've had nitrous oxide from a comedian.
Oh, like a whippet?
Like a whippet, yeah. Unfortunately, I did whippets right after my divorce.
No, because if you can find a dentist who administers nitrous oxide, it's a very controlled way to escape your mind.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, so you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
So you got a steady flow of nitrous, not like a whippet.
Yeah, but steady but controlled.
I just had 5 fillings done, and I was so terrified. I found a dentist who did nitrous.
Yes.
You can't find many of them because no one wants to do it anymore because it escapes into the air and it's bad for the dentist. But
you know what they call nitrous oxide? The
laughing
gas. And I asked my dentist when I was first using it, I said, what do they call it? Laughing gas. And he said something, and I was hysterical. It's true. It's like the funniest thing I ever heard.
When will I stop falling for these every time I get it?
I've actually never told that joke to anyone but Tom.
Yeah, but I was telling John, the guy's drilling, and I'm thinking, shit, don't start drilling because I'm totally conscious. I can feel everything.
Yes.
And so he's drilling away, and he's on my 5th tooth, and I'm thinking, I catch myself thinking, geez, I got to do this more often. Yeah. Because it shut your brain off. I was so happy.
It shut your beautiful scientific brain off.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, okay, it's hard to, you know what's great about the show is we don't have we can advocate drugs if we want to.
Yeah.
There's something, I meditate. I try and get into that space naturally. It's not as potent, you know what I mean? But I think there is a path. I have to believe there's a path. Again, I don't do mushrooms often. It's been over a year since I've done them, and I don't really necessarily want to do them. What I do want to do is learn how to consistently shut it down a little bit.
Right.
I have to imagine kids help.
Yeah.
Take you out of yourself a little bit. You got these things.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. It's
in a good way?
Yeah, that was the first time I ever said, I know I am alive.
Is that right?
Totally.
I'm going to just jump off a bridge. I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Have a kid.
I will look at my face. Don't I look like hi, I'm dad? Like it feels like a dad kind of vibe.
Great dad.
I would love to be a dad, and I will be a dad. Something goes wrong if I'm not a dad, but that's beautiful. So you knew while you were alive. I have to imagine.
You don't talk about while we were alive, as if we're no longer alive. Jeez.
And be there when he's born or she's born.
Yes.
Be there.
Yeah, of course. I'm not Don Draper. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch the whole mess.
Don Draper, did they show?
It's actually a great episode.
Is that in one of the shows?
Betty, it's a great episode. Speaking of hallucinogens, she's on all these weird anesthetics that make her trip. And he's in the waiting room with a Marine drinking scotch.
That's right.
And it's a great episode. And they bond really, really tight, really, really quickly because it's such an intense thing. But yeah, you got to be in the room. But that, I almost just felt like afraid that I would offend you. But you felt like that's a spiritual thing, or like for lack of a better word, like a beautiful thing. a gorgeous thing.
I've said this out loud in front of my wife, so I don't have to worry about saying it now. I had no idea what love was until my son was born. He was my first, and then my daughter, and the same thing. No idea. I thought I'll never love anybody. I don't know how to do it.
Really?
It was so simple. The son's born. He's perfect. Doctor came in and said, "You want him circumcised?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, you didn't want to cut
He's perfect.
Yeah,
he's perfect.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, were you there for both Julian?
I was there when Amy was born.
That's my daughter.
No, I was there when Julia was born, and oddly enough, Susie was with Julia when her daughter was born.
Yes,
my granddaughter.
Susie's
my wife.
Your wife?
Julia's my daughter, and Julia just gave birth to a little girl named Thea.
Oh, that I saw the picture of.
Right. And my wife, she went into labor, my daughter, on the Mass Pike.
Oh, my God.
So it was a very tense trip to the hospital, and my wife met them there.
So she wanted to be there?
Yeah.
So were you present when your children were born?
Somebody had to keep an eye in the house. I have a dog and a bird to protect.
But this, I know it's weird to minimize children to the level of it's so narcissistic to be like, oh, maybe a kid would help me stop just sitting around thinking about having that conversation where I'm in the singularity and speaking as a hologram to somebody. That's not really necessary.
Well, I almost wish I hadn't said it to you because I had no idea that it was. That was a time when you can really feel love and outside because you're going to have kids anyway.
Yeah,
you'll discover this.
Yeah.
And so why?
But you can tell me and
you'll forget.
I will forget.
Good.
And it is just a general idea, and I believe it's one of the things you have to experience.
Yeah.
But you have them, and that's real. Is that chemical though? It's got to be chemical. The smell of your children, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, some of it's just biological, but the other thing is that, and Tom was the first guy to ever use this term to talk about having a romantic relationship with his children. Like Tom and I'm not giving anything away, Tom and his daughter will go to New York and just to see musicals.
Oh.
Or him and his son will go.
That's tremendous.
But I remember saying that, using that expression when Amy was playing soccer. I'd say to one of the mothers, "Yeah, Amy and I just had the most romantic trip to New York." And she was like, Amy was 8, and they're like, "Whoa,
yeah,
whoa!" It's like, no, romantic. That's
yes.
Everything is just beautiful and richer.
Colors are more vivid. It was novel. Yeah.
Romantic's a great word.
It is a great word. You didn't mean people think sexual.
No. And my
I have to clarify.
Thank you.
What if you were like, no, it was sexual?
The closest experience I ever had like that was, I'm allergic to bees, and I'm also terrified of any kind of insect that flies and stings. And my daughter Julia, when she was about 6, had a wasp on her blouse, and because I love her so much, I just punched her so hard.
The wasp.
I got her in the wasp, but she had no idea what was going on.
There's got to be a joke here about you've always wanted to punch a wasp.
Well, there's no real tag or anything like
Missed
that.
opportunity.
Not the first time I punched a wasp. That's your tag.
And then I also let go of her hand crossing the street once.
But you're saying that is beautiful. I know it's a joke, but at the same time, I don't know that feeling. I'm afraid of that feeling. I've said this on the show. I'm not afraid of that feeling. I'm afraid of lacking that feeling. I'm with my girlfriend, and she's like, I said this before. I'm so sorry, but I want to say it to you guys. I'm on the road with my girlfriend at the time, and she was like a gorgeous, kind of like a curvy woman. And we wanted to go to, she always wanted to do things that I never would have wanted to do. Like, let's go, we're driving through buttfuck in between, I don't know what we were doing. And she's like, let's go to the dive bar. I'm like, no fucking way. Because we go in the dive bar, and my fantasy, my neurotic brain goes, we go in, there's a biker gang. The biker gang's like, we're gonna take your girl.
Right.
And kill you, or take your girl and you can leave. That's what my brain does. And then I go, I'm afraid I'll leave. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't even like saying that now. It's kind of funny, and probably
just let me know when you're done.
But that's that. You want to have that wasp love, but maybe you don't get it until either you meet the right woman. I hope that's how I feel. God, I'm so uncomfortable right now.
I think both.
Because I want to go on the record and say I'm not going to let the biker gang take the girl.
You wouldn't.
I wouldn't. There's no fucking way.
I think both Tom and I.
But as I'm dying, I'll go, this is stupid. We should have gone to Applebee's. There's no gangs.
Yeah, and also I don't know if this thing was going to last. Then
I think
she was cheating on me as they're stabbing me. Please, Jonathan, you tried to say several things.
I've had, and this is again going to sound sexual, but I have had a physical yearning for my daughters, just wanting to hold them. You know?
I don't think that's sexual. In fact, more and more talking about is it autism? I don't know if it's autism, but they're talking about a lot of social disorders like Asperger's. It's not Asperger's. That's genetic.
But it's on the same spectrum.
It's on the same spectrum. Yeah. Okay, so I think you know what I'm getting at. They're talking about how being held and stuff. There's all this like touch therapy, all these Russian orphans that are growing up with the same social disorders because none of them were held because all they could do was be fed and they would cry and they wouldn't be tended to, and then that affects them later in life. So your desire to that's perfect.
Asperger's is the only disease that makes me both horny and hungry. And I'm sorry, one too many?
No, I want an Asperger's so bad. If there was a restaurant that served burgers on ladies' asses.
That's a great name for a restaurant.
Asperger's.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
I've heard Asperger's, that whole spectrum described as male on one end and female on the other by like an evolutionary biologist, and saying males were at this, pointing their eyes and saying, you go over there and you go over there.
Yes.
And females were talking and sharing relationships.
Right.
And that's all it means. Someone's super male.
That's interesting. Yeah. Oh, it just makes them one way or the other.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, have you ever heard the expression, Jonathan Peanut Bladder Katz?
You're not the first that's needed to urinate during this show.
Oh, is there a restroom on this level?
There isn't, which sucks.
Okay.
A cup right
so
here.
Maybe. Thank you so much. Oh, this is a trick.
There's no bottom.
There's no bottom to that cup.
Pete, we're at 1:45.
We are at 1:45, but we haven't talked about God yet.
Yeah.
We've talked around him.
We can take a break.
Take a break, a pee break.
What if I go downstairs and you guys keep talking? Well.
No, we'll wait for you.
That's we could do either. So where were we?
You were godding it.
We were about to. We can always God it. I have no problem getting people into God. But were we done on kids? Love outside of ourselves. Good thing to do.
We're talking about having. This is interesting because we were talking about biology.
Yes, the
chemicals.
Chemicky.
But I have an adopted daughter.
Yeah.
Who is as close to me as anyone I've ever met.
I'm very happy to hear that, because as I was saying, there's a smell of your kids and all that sort of stuff. I was like, am I cheapening adoption? Have you seen the movie Orphan by any chance? It's a horror movie. I wouldn't expect you to see it.
No.
It's basically the whole. I actually rather liked it when I saw it, but the whole movie is basically a horror movie of like, don't adopt people because like they're not yours. Because there's that weird something underneath. Yeah, they'll kill you basically. There's something weird and simple-minded about like you couldn't love an adopted child,
There
which
are
obviously
people
not
who are
true.
very ignorant about it.
Yes.
You know? When I was doing Raising Dad for WB, there was a show on the lot called. The working title was, or the actual title was, Maybe I'm Adopted, and I, along with Rosie O'Donnell and a couple of other adoptive parents, got them to change the title.
Really?
Yep.
Because she's adopted children, and
and many of my friends have.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No adoption jokes with John.
Except one. Except one.
John lets me tell one, but there was Gabe Kaplan. That's fantastic. But
I'm thinking of the Ronnie Shakes one.
Oh.
What are these? I've never heard an adoption joke.
Oh, well, the one I like is Ronnie Shakes is a comedian who is my hero who died many years ago. Jogging.
He died jogging?
Yeah. And his dying words were, "Do my act."
Is that true?
No. I mean, he did die jogging, but he didn't say "do my act." But his joke is, I asked my parents if I was adopted, and they said yes, but they returned you.
That is a perfect joke.
Yeah.
All of Ronnie Shake's jokes. Are you familiar with this?
No.
It's It's a
Ronnie
he's-
Shakes. I'm sorry.
I'll do just
I've never
a
heard
couple,
of him.
one. I'll do two more.
Please.
They
What? I
threw
love
me-
perfect jokes.
They threw me in jail on some trumped up charge. They said I was allowed one phone call. Nobody called.
That's laser accurate. That's what we call that.
You got another.
I blew $5,000 on a reincarnation seminar. I figured, what the hell? You only live once.
That is great.
Great
He's
joke
perfect.
writer.
He's
Those are great jokes.
Yeah.
You could load them into a computer, but the computer would laugh. You know what I mean? There's something
Yeah.
to say. It's like
I know what you
a
mean.
joke would be detected, but the computer itself would laugh. What were you going to say?
Gabe Kaplan. You remember Tim? He's Welcome Back, Carter, right?
Yes. I
Cotter.
believe I'm picturing
Cotter.
the right guy.
Right.
Did I say Welcome Back, Goddard?
No, Carter.
Okay.
Welcome
But
back.
he had a joke. He said
Welcome back, Cutter, the sad
his
show.
brothers always told him he was adopted, and it drove him nuts. So finally, he went to his dad and said, "Ling Chow."
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's reminding me. I'm remembering a joke from a movie where it's like, I wonder if they stole it from like Rodney or something. It was like, I could tell my parents didn't want me. They used to take me to orphanages and tell me to mingle, which isn't that funny? I saw that in a movie about stand-up, so I don't know who wrote that.
Are we going to get in trouble with Susie?
Yeah.
Susie,
That's my wife.
Your
But
wife.
there's a guy, is a comedian named Teddy Bergeron who did this joke. I don't know why I'm thinking of it. He said, I went to a bar, I had met this woman, and she said, my place or yours? And he said, hey, look, if it's going to be a hassle, forget it.
These are perfect jokes. Is that another Shakes joke?
No, that's a guy named Teddy Bergeron.
Oh, you just said that. Yeah.
It's a Boston comic.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
John, you are all about the perfect joke. You truly are.
I love efficient jokes.
Look, can I tell you?
Rita Rudner writes great jokes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It was one of your faves. Can you think of one? I don't mean to put you on the spot. Can I tell you one of the funniest openers I've ever heard? And I've said this on the show before, and I think it's fantastic. And forgive me, I can't remember the guy's name. I'm sorry. It's not my joke. But he goes, I don't know if you can tell by looking at my hair, but it's windy outside. But he just said, like, it's such a great, there's no good way to open. But he goes like, and his hair is ridiculous. And he goes, I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but it's windy outside. It's so funny. So funny. So great.
Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror first thing in the morning and I look like all three Stooges. but that's not a joke. That's just the way my hair is.
That's great. I heard an open micer do this line. Again, sorry, all mine are uncredited. I have two open micer jokes that I wanted to steal immediately and regret not offering to. I don't do that, but like buy the joke. One was, you ever see a kid so fat he looks like he has a job? It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. It was in an open mic. It
That's
was
like an Andy
unbelievable.
Kindler non-joke, though,
Yeah, it
right?
doesn't make any sense.
Not
but
Andy
very
Kindler.
funny.
Who's the guy? Who does the non-jokes? Fred Stoller.
Or Ron Lynch does.
Fred Stoller invents
Yeah.
these jokes like, we were so poor we had to buy a blue car.
That's funny. But the fat job one makes sense to me because I've seen little fat kids that look like little middle-aged men because they're so filled out.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
didn't get the joke.
That's fine. But when you see a fat kid that looks like he works at H&R Block, you're going to laugh a second time. Okay. The other one was, so I just found a time machine next week, which is just kind of like another one of those, like, that's a great joke. It doesn't make, I call that a Futurama joke. It doesn't make you laugh, but you're like, oh, perfect. That's perfect.
And my dad built a time machine that traveled into the future, but it was only 24 hours a day. In real time.
That's very funny. I also heard, again, an open mic, or this is when I was at open mics, I would remember the good jokes like shone, they really stood out.
Right.
This girl goes, I just talked to my parents on the phone because I don't have caller ID. And I was like, it's perfect.
That's good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And that was like back when caller ID was still pretty new. So I was like, Jesus Christ, you just get mad in a good way. Like, it lights my fire. I'm get excited. So I'm glad we have that in common. I know you guys have another thing to go to, but every episode does end with a discussion of religion, which we have talked to quite a bit.
Right.
But I'm wondering, John, were you raised Jewish? Were your parents religiously Jewish?
No, my parents were communists.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow,
So-
that couldn't have been popular. All right, well,
I mean, they were communists, but if I did something really bad when I was a little kid, instead of punishing me, they would just talk to the McCarthy hearings about me. There's a funnier version of that.
you know what's funny?
Oh no,
No, that is funny.
my parents were communists. My dad was a communist. He left me everything.
So your parents really were communists.
Yeah.
Which to me is like a cartoon character. You might as well be like my parents.
It just
were
means
boogeymen.
it just means they believed in the labor movement.
Boogie.
yeah,
Yeah.
the labor movement. I'm just picturing, beards and Tetris. That's all I got.
No, they were just activists and
Right.
rooted for the underdog.
Yes. So, but also, forgive me if I'm wrong, communism also was big into atheism, right?
Yeah,
So, no God sort of stuff.
Right.
So that you were raised an atheist.
right.
That's interesting. And you remain an atheist?
Yes.
But you said, not... I'm with you. You can be an atheist and consider yourself spiritual or
Right.
in touch with that kind of warm feeling of being human. But there's no like afterlife or necessarily
No.
a need other than morality's own sake to be moral.
No, I think the afterlife is
I know. We're being shipped to another
Yeah.
comic book shop right now.
no, I don't believe in the afterlife.
This is one of my weird points. An afterlife makes as little sense as this life does. That's a Pete Holmes dumb thought original. I agree with you that an afterlife is preposterous, but we're here, and this is preposterous. You know what I'm saying? Does that do anything?
It's
for you?
unlikely.
Yes.
It's very unlikely that we're all sitting in this room together,
Yeah.
considering how big the universe is and how old it is.
Right.
So is your point, it's no more unlikely that there's an afterlife than this life?
Life makes as little sense as afterlife.
So why not believe in an afterlife?
So I've done, in my happy wanting something to be real
Yeah.
way, created kind of an inarguable doofus theory where I'm like, life doesn't make sense, therefore I could also say unicorns don't make as much sense
I
as
guess,
life. But it comforts me.
Yes.
I'm on the search for comfort. I'm on the
Right.
search to minimize my anxiety, and I'm not smart enough to in fact, atheists turn me on. Passion turns me on. Decisiveness turns me on. People that have opinions on what happens turns me on. I just atheism doesn't offend me.
Right.
It actually excites me. It's interesting to me. But I'm also what's that?
well, it's you mentioned earlier talking to a therapist.
Yes.
And it's almost like you don't need to be talking to a therapist, but you need to be talking to an existentialist, in a way. Someone who can, because, when you say something is an existential thought, it means it's really about all existence, and it's not really just
Right.
about you.
Help me understand what you mean by that. I know the word existentialism, but I'm not.
Well,
I missed a lot of stuff
recently
in
it's
college.
been used a lot politically, like Israel is saying, if Iran has the bomb, it's an existential problem for Israel.
See, I don't know what that means. I'd love to pretend like
It's
I
like
do and sound
just the ultimate question of existence.
Okay.
So it sort of transcends a whole lot of, shorthands for God and all that stuff. It's like, what does it mean that life has no meaning? If life has no meaning, that's
right.
That's sort of Sartre and Camus and Woody Allen too.
Yeah.
He's really into that.
So that's existentialism.
That's existential. Well,
If life has no
I'm probably
meaning.
giving just a terrible shorthand for it, but
I-
I do remember a therapist saying to me, "Tom, sounds like you have an existential problem." And I remember asking him, "So who do you talk to?"
Yeah.
An existentialist, because they were all just horrible people.
But is that who I need to talk to?
Well, I don't know, but
Is there a documentary about it?
Do you trust your therapist to have these? It's just a paid person to talk with you about what anyone could talk with you about.
You mean my therapist?
Yeah.
I trust my therapist very, very deeply. He happens to actually mirror my own vague and. You know what's weird about my spiritual beliefs now is they would deeply offend 22-year-old me. 22-year-old me would want to punch me in the face.
just because of how meandering and bullshitty sounding they are. But I'm the kind of guy that'll tell you something about like how I believe our consciousness lives past our bodies and sort of stuff. I'm also right there with you when you say it's over. When it's over, I'm like, that sounds about right. But if you want to talk to me, if you want to smoke some opium, or I've never smoked opium, but I'm just saying, if you want to sit around, I'm game. It's like pornography a little bit, I guess. It's a little bit of a fantasy, but I enjoy it, and something inside of me. And I do think that actually might be chemical, resonates when I go like, I live past me. I'm not my body. I'm experiencing this world and the best I can, but I think I'm trapped inside this cage.
It's numinous.
What does that mean?
Numinous. Look it up after we're gone. It might help you.
Numinous.
Yeah.
And if you are going to try a drug, experiment with drugs, I recommend opium because it's the only drug that comes with a den.
You figured the show out completely. We're supposed to have these lofty things and then lob in these wonderful jokes.
You know who's that kind of comedian is Paula Poundstone. She's like a sniper.
Yes. It's funny that you say that because another thing I say often on the show is I say that it's sharpshooting. I often picture a sniper just laying in the... You've been in writers' rooms, those guys that can do that.
Yeah.
She did that?
B.J. Novak had a great joke about the afterlife. About... I guess it was whoever does it believes when you die that you go to heaven and you have 500 whores.
Yeah.
What's in it for the whores?
Right.
Something like that, but there was a
lot of people,
version.
That area, that idea, that's Islamic heaven, or one interpretation of it. The 99 virgins, and it's like, virgins?
Oh, virgins, that's right, not whores. I'm sorry, I had that backwards.
Yeah, actually, I like your heaven better. 500 whores is better than 99 virgins any day. I'll take 5 whores over 99 virgins. Well, I've heard a lot of people do those jokes about, like, virgins, it's uncomfortable, they don't know what they're doing. At least you have eternity to figure it out.
That sounds like a program version 1.3.
Can you tell me a little bit about what numinous means?
It's that feeling that, is it biological or not, that needs, wants, and responds to that otherness that you are titillated by. And I use that word because you said pornographic, and that reminded me of it.
No, it is titillating.
And I forget the names of these guys I studied, basically Jewish philosophers, I think, in this century, who wrote that? Martin Buber.
I Thou?
Yeah, that's a book. Doesn't that sound sort of like...
Yeah.
Buber, isn't he associated with some religious movement, or am I thinking...
I don't know.
The titty movement?
I haven't read him since college.
Oh, no, there was a... Lutheran with a similar name.
But I think he was the one who was...
It was Martin Luther.
Martin Buber. Oh.
Buber Luther?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I was done.
Are you done? Do you know Joseph Campbell at all? The Power of Myth and all that sort of stuff? I think...
The power of ethanol?
I
really thought that's what you said.
No, the power of myth. The idea that
all he said.
Religion and all these things speak to things that we're not able to articulate. The sort of thoughts and feelings that maybe get filtered out when you get to that scientific mind level, and we're losing the Spanish poet sort of guy. The religious story, the story of Star Wars, that poster right behind you, the hero's journey, all that sort of stuff. Right. Resonates with us on a deeper level because it's dinging a bell in us that we can't talk about. We have our thoughts and we have the things that we can articulate, and somewhere behind that there's the attic of our brain or our soul that's saying, like, no, we know there's more.
That's that deep structure that may be based on narrative. In other words, if you get behind language, and you get behind words and all that stuff, maybe the deepest grammar there is the once upon a time, the beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
And I think that's why that is why I'm pointing to Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why if everyone we know dies except 2 babies, I think in 500 years we got the Bible again.
What was the joke about if Eve... Oh, you just asked me this yesterday.
What if Adam was gay?
What if he just wasn't attracted to women?
Oh, yeah. You know who'd be so pissed off if she overheard this conversation?
Who?
That woman in Newton, that mean, retarded.
Why? We don't...
Just because she's so mean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And this time I go, handicapped. This time I call you out on it because we've grown as people.
What is it's intellectually challenged.
Yeah.
Right.
Even that sounds. I think retarded might be preferable to intellectually challenged.
My wife
like a
gets
game
so
show.
pissed at me when I say retarded, but that's a joke because if you're from Boston, you can say retarded.
It's a whole nother word on that
Sweeney
cause.
invented that word.
He did.
Retard. Everybody's a retard.
Yeah.
What are you, a retard? Yeah, I'm retarded. So I got to say, so all that stuff, I guess, myth, Jesus, redemption, Buddha, enlightenment, all of that, Krishna, Muhammad, all of it is just anxiety reduction. It's just a deep need to not face the existential crisis that is just nothing.
Whatever makes you comfortable, I think.
Or it's an instinct, potentially.
To keep us alive?
No, it's just well, yeah. In other words, it selects for survival in some way.
Right.
It used to.
People who have a leaning towards some sort of eternal thinking probably want to survive more than the others.
Well, that's a question. You know, there must be some reason that everybody does it. I mean, there's no culture that doesn't have. I mean, I think this atheism thing is pretty new.
Yeah,
you know,
it is new, isn't it?
Yeah.
And well, it's like the movie, and I don't want to call religion. Here I am representing belief, I suppose. The movie Idiocracy, where all the
religiosity. Bill Maher's movie?
No, it's Idiocracy. It's a comedy written by Mike Judge, which is about how intellectual people never breed, but like less educated people in that movie, they're definitely morons because it's a parable. They all breed. So in the future, there are no intellectuals. Mm-hmm. So it's all just knuckleheads.
And why don't we breed the intellectuals?
Because the intellectuals are like, we're just waiting for a good time financially, and I just don't know if we're ready to bring another child into this world. And like, before you know it, you just die, married and childless. Mm-hmm. But then like knuckleheads are just banging, teenagers and making babies and all that sort of stuff, which is, I guess, fine. But they're saying he's hypothesizing a world where everybody's a doofus.
Is it animated?
It's not. I wonder if it would have done better if it had been.
We
it didn't do that well.
Do you want to do that? Yeah.
Do we animate it? You just heard the theft of a great idea.
Yeah. That's all John and I know how to do anyway.
Well, that's, if you're not stealing, you're not being ambitious enough.
No, I meant animate, not steal.
I don't know how to tie this up, but I'm getting a good sense of where you're at, and I'm not sure. Maybe it is an instinct. Maybe
Well, the whole goddamn thing is theater. That's
Theater?
that's the one thing I can say in a slightly different voice.
That's the way you test a microphone.
Yeah.
the whole goddamn thing is theater.
Yeah, it's just me doing an impression of R.V. Vendrett.
Well, then,
Boy, tie this all together, would you?
wouldn't it be great if I could?
Yeah.
I wish I could.
So sweet.
I never will be able to, and that's what makes religion endlessly interesting to me.
I'm trying to think what rhymes with Holmes. Edna St. Vincent wrote poems. What's your middle name?
What's that?
What's your middle name?
Benedict.
Well, young
Gnomes.
Peter Benedict.
Stay in your homes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't.
That's for bad weather, I think.
What was the first line?
Edna St. Vincent
Wrote poems.
While
Peter
young
Benedict.
Peter, young Peter
Benedict
is Holmes.
is home.
Holmes.
Is Holmes. He hosts a podcast. 2 hours it lasts. And there's, and there's no way to wrap up this God part.
Well, how do you normally wrap it up?
Well, we wrap it up with a guest saying "keep it crispy," but
And also,
so there's always an ending.
Katie, while you were out, I wrote down a phrase that I'm hoping you edit out.
I will not forget. We're going to take that out. But every mention of it just heightens the interest.
What's the phrase that you want to mention?
Keep it crispy, and it actually kind of ties into God. Whether or not there is a God, I think atheists.
You got to keep it crispy. Am I stepping on your line? I'm sorry.
A little bit.
Okay.
No, but I loved it. It's never happened before, and it delighted me truly. It's the idea, crispy or whatever, but fuck crispy. I'm just saying we can all agree that being present and being alive and aware
and challenged and curious and interested and passionate and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of the idea of keep it crispy. It's a silly way of saying that. And whether or not that's through a religious lens or not, like enlightenment, meditation, Buddha being here, being connected to his brothers and loving God, whatever that means, and loving your neighbor, whatever that means, just means religious or not, those are all good ideas, I guess.
Yeah.
You know who my heroes are in the talking crispy? Are Crack, Pop, Crackle, and Snap. They really...
Oh my God, it's so off-putting to hear those names out of the regular order. Pop, Crackle, and Snap.
No, how do you say it correctly?
Snap, Crackle, Pop.
Right.
But you said it out of order like they're your friends.
Well,
if you know Pop, he goes first.
And also Rice Krispies, they did make a version with Dolby finally.
Yeah.
With what?
Dolby.
With Dolby.
Sound reduction.
Oh my God.
So 1981.
This was a wonderful conversation. I'm so glad. Thank you for letting me take up so much of your time. And you already said keep it crispy, and I don't want you to say it again because it's perfect. Tom, if you would say
I just want to apologize, or I want you to punch me when we're outside for being such like a pseudo-intellectual blowhard today.
No, this is a safe place.
About it.
A safe place to be that.
No, look at what we're doing. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Neither do I. I'm throwing in old references from...
But nobody, at no point did you claim to know what you're talking about.
But I'm the only one here who has a pseudo-intellectual property lawyer.
Here's another mammoth thing that I say all the time. I go, we're just three guys talking. It's another Shelley the Machine Levine line.
Yeah.
He goes, we're just two guys talking. Don't jump out of your manager bag. We're just three guys talking. No point in this podcast is to say, we know what we're saying or whatever. This was just a conversation that happened to happen today. And if you were a little bit, you weren't, by the way, but if you feel that way, that's how people are sometimes. We're talking about lofty things.
Right.
Your language is going to I get grotesque and go on these long-winded things like the one we're in right now.
That's what I do when I'm keeping it crispy.
Oh, boy.
Nice.
Holy shit.
Nice.
Oh,
this is a free show. I want a high five. I can't get you.
Wait, try it again. Oh, wow.
It was worse somehow.
Katie, can you drop in a sound effect for that?
Yeah.
I stood up. This was a sincere pleasure. What's the name of the show again?
Can you hear that?
What was it?
Sound like Laura.
Excitement?
Oh, yeah.
Excitement Bus?
Please. Thank you.
Explosion Bus.
Yeah, explosionbus.com.
.com.
Or you can go onto YouTube, our channel.
Just go to explosionbus.com.
It's just John and funny people doing conversational stuff that's so cool.
That's all you need. Well, thank you. Didn't pay for it. Didn't pay to get in. Numinous. I mean, we learned a lot. This was great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Now leaving Nerdist.com.